I'd like to welcome you all and call the meeting of the August 15th Board of Trustees to order. It is 7 o'clock. Would you all please stand and join me in the Pledge of Allegiance? I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all. Thank you very much. Roll call, please. Bartholomew?
Here.
Edwards?
Here.
Fowler?
Yes.
Hart?
Here.
Parker?
Here.
Posniewski? Here. President Malzahn? Present. All seven are present. Okay, up on your agenda, we have number 3, the consent agenda. You have minutes from July 18th of 2022, special meeting minutes of July 28th, 2022, council bills in the amount of $365,108.39, and the vendor report totaling $44,307.66, as well as your meeting agenda. So we could take them one by one. That just seems to be the easiest course of action.
I have a correction.
Yes, I believe. On the minutes? Yes. So let's start with July 18th.
Okay.
So you have a correction, you said?
Yeah, Matt Edwards was absent. Hi, Matt.
Hi.
It confuses everyone. That's okay. You're not following.
Yes, thank you. Okay, so,
And Fowler's on there twice.
okay, any other corrections for the 18th? Motion to approve then with the correction?
I'll make a motion to approve the minutes from July 18th.
Support.
Okay, is that Hart for the second? Yep, we have a motion by Edwards, we have support by Hart. All in favor?
Aye.
Any opposed? One. Okay, one opposed.
I wasn't here. Do I just recuse myself from voting on
No.
that?
No, you don't have to. Read the minutes and say you're up to speed. Okay, we have the special meeting minutes of July 28th. Any changes or a motion to approve?
Motion to approve.
Support.
We have a motion by Parker. Any discussion? Support by Hart. All in favor?
Aye.
Any opposed? Okay. Council bills? Discussion or questions? We got that in the vendor report. We can go over both of those. All right, hearing none, roll call, please. Oh, who made a motion?
I'll make a motion to pay the bills.
Oh, sorry.
Support.
Skip that step. We have a motion by Bartholomew. We have support by Hart. Now call the roll.
Okay. Bartholomew?
Yes.
Hart?
Yes.
Parker?
No.
Edwards?
Yes.
Fowler?
No.
President Malzahn?
Yes.
Posniewski? No. Motion carries 4-3.
All right, and then you have your agenda for tonight. I need to make 2 corrections, or 1 correction. The number 9B with the information was in your packet. It was not on the agenda for the sidewalk extension. So I need to officially add that to the agenda. And then I need to also add the parade resolution to 10H.
We were supposed to have a 9B, or we're adding a 9B?
You
9B is
have
in the
9B
packet.
in your information in your packet. It just was not on the printed agenda sheet.
I see. Okay.
Any other discussion, changes? If not, motion to approve the meeting agenda with the changes?
I'll make a motion to approve the meeting agenda with the changes as stated.
Okay.
Second.
Okay. We have a motion by Edwards, we have support by Parker. All in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
Any opposed? Okay. I'm going to continue on the agenda. I do have Mike from Hubble Ruth and Clark joining us for item 9B. He is in another meeting, so he said he would hop on about 7:30. So if we could just monitor the time and be a little bit flexible, when he does hop on, well, we will tackle both of those agenda items, and hopefully the timing is going to work out. But let's move on to special presentations. We have none tonight. Correspondence, I have none on the agenda tonight. And now it's time for public comment, our fun part of the evening. Anybody who wishes to address the board would please stand at the podium, give us your name and address, and your comments. We do offer the ability to speak on any agenda items at the time that that agenda item is being discussed at the board level.
I didn't see it on the agenda. My name is Bill Parker. My wife and I own the building next to the Village Hall and have owned it since 1975. The village, as you know, has a policy of charging a minimum water bill for each and every address. We happen to have 7 addresses at that building, so even a 20 by 20 office gets a minimum bill. And we have an $1,160 quarterly bill and use absolutely almost no water in that building. I asked Clerk Trapp last week if the village was going to continue this process, and she said the whole matter was under discussion. I would note, having owned many buildings in downtown Romeo and having sold many buildings in downtown Romeo, the practice is common throughout the downtown area. It dates back into the 1950s or 60s, and it's whatever the clerks in those years decided would be an appropriate number of billings is what's taking place. In point of fact, none of the actual changes of usages or splits and additions of offices has ever been reflected. And therefore, since we're paying probably the highest minimum bill in the entire downtown area, we would like you to address that. It is $11.60 and change right now, and you're charging a minimum for each and every office.
Absolutely. So that was one of the reasons why I asked the council to approve a water and sewer rate study. Part of that was to address our outdated ordinances and these REUs that were applied for whatever reason. I looked at the schedule that's in our ordinance, and they're extremely odd and outdated, in my opinion, where we should be charging 1 REU per seat for every church, right? And that really hasn't been addressed in a very long time. So once I was alerted to that, I said, let's do a study and let's change our system of billing. And that's what was presented by John Kasor from Municipal Analytics at last month's meeting. And we are eliminating the REUs.
Well, I understand that, and I
Yes.
watched the meeting, and I went to the clerk and asked her if they were in fact eliminating all the phantom, because we have 1 meter.
Correct.
And so, and they're billing us for 7 minimums.
Correct.
And the clerk was unaware of what would be happening, and she said it was under study. Therefore, I'm bringing it to your attention that, yeah, you have a process of actually billing where nothing has been happening. And you're telling me that, yes, that is being eliminated. And so we will just actually drop back to a bill for whatever is actually going on there.
We adjusted the rates, and I'm happy to meet with you to go over the specifics in your instance, obviously, because this is public forum. But we are set the rate study so that there's a ready-to-serve fee based on meter size. And the meter size is the more common way to go in municipalities, so if you have,
I understood all of that, and
Right,
I
yes.
listened to it. Actually, I played it twice because I wanted to
Yes,
make sure I was
okay.
understanding what was said.
yes,
We have a meter, and we're getting billed for 7 minimums, and
Yes.
somehow that just doesn't seem
that's why we're
correct.
gonna change that,
And you
Bill.
tell me it's going to change.
That's what I'm telling
all
you.
I wanted to know. and I
Village
have a
Council approved
delightful
it last
meeting.
month, you should be very happy.
And I did let you
Well,
know
will
right
that
at the
be,
beginning to the
will
council.
that go into effect in the next cycle?
Yes.
Or
Yes, I
currently,
did.
or when is that
It's-
gonna happen?
Right. It was effective with the next rate billing cycle, which begins September 18th, because we're already in the middle of a session, and so we didn't want to have to go out and read meters twice, so I said just for ease of use, and to bring BSNA up to speed, because it's going to take a lot of office time to institute that changes, it will begin. So you technically won't see that on your bill until January.
So my next bill will actually reflect
Your next bill will be coming out mid-September, and it will have the old, because that was the current rate structure that was in place when that billing cycle began. So your next cycle, this new rate structure begins September 18th, and that bill goes out in January. Okay? Anybody else for public comment?
Good evening. My name is Shelley Rosso. I live on North Bailey Street. And instead of trying to explain a long story to catch the trustees and everybody up, I wanted to share an email that I sent to Bruce Township that'll kind of help explain what I'm asking for today. It's really kind of simple. So I went in to vote in August, and the thoughts crossed my mind more than once about the intersection at North Bailey and Gates where the fire department is, the market, the park, and that type of intersection. We've never said anything to Bruce Township about it. It has come up here at the village about possibly putting in a stop sign or looking into that. But when I went in to vote that day, I stopped in at the the Bruce Township clerk and said, hey, has anyone thought about this and this intersection? And you got the park here, and great experience. So it led to this email, and I'll read it just so you can see where things are going. Hello, Bruce Township officials. I'm a Romeo Bruce resident who has lived on North Bailey for over 23 years. The fact that my husband, children, and I can bike and walk to a park, to vote, to pay taxes, deliver treats to the fire department, and more does not escape us as a gift. All of the amenities in the township office location are frequently used by us as well as many other families on a regular basis. I see the population of young families growing here. I also see the increase in traffic and speeding, and hence my request or suggestion. In reference to the crosswalk area from North Bailey to cross to Gates into Bruce Township Park, there could perhaps be some simple steps taken to keep drivers alert and pedestrians safer in that area. A crosswalk sign, a stop sign, maybe lines on the pavement would be helpful. Even a sidewalk along Gates would help define the pedestrian area. And I was referencing the north side of Gates, where the park is, where the township is, and all of that area. I realize there is a municipality boundary there, and some plans might require collaboration. I know in the past the village board has discussed a stop sign. Your consideration in addressing this matter would be greatly appreciated. And then I asked, if I'm not available for the next meeting, please read this at public comment. And so from there, Mr. Fulbert got back to me and highlighted that, yes, a stop sign has been talked about, and that they will be bringing it up on August 17th. And then Susan Kraft took it one step further and reached out to the road commission. And it all happened quickly. Within a matter of 7 days, she had the road commission out there twice. They looked at options, they talked about signs, they talked about marking things, and sometime within the next, based on the email dates, within the next week now, 10 days at the most, the road commission will have addressed something there, which is really exciting and nice to hear. But the last response to me was, I've contacted the Village of Romeo to let them know the status, and as they are in the process of upgrading their sidewalks, I'm hoping they'll take a look at Bailey and Gates to update the corner. Thank you for nudging us forward on this, and please feel free. So that's the history, and I bring that up so if you do get contacted or if you do hear about it, you know where and why, and I really hope it gets the time and attention that it deserves. It is on the village side, has a sidewalk that stops. It doesn't continue on the opposite side of North Bailey, which would be really nice to look and consider that too. But we are inviting pedestrians to walk from the south side of Gates to the north side to go into a park, or the municipality or the fire department or the child care that was there or whatever will be there, and a church. But there's no stop sign, there's no marking. Even the gate, you have to zigzag through the park, and there's no sidewalk. So that's where we're at with that, and I hope if you get contacted, you will respectfully help us follow up with Bruce Township.
One question. Did you contact the village to see what they knew about that? The Village of Romeo?
I've been to the village meetings. I heard about stop signs, and then you and
I
I
was
had a
just wondering-
conversation,
okay.
and you said that you would bring it
Right,
forward.
right.
So no, not in that.
Okay.
But once the clerk at Bruce said that she would be doing it and that she knew there was a municipality, I have all the faith in the world that she would follow through. I'm just bringing here to make sure that everybody
is-
does, and so everybody kind of
Gotcha.
knows.
It's
Yeah.
a great suggestion. It's absolutely something that we have identified as a need before, which is what sparked the conversation, and I'm glad that you were aware of that. I don't mean to be the bearer of bad news, but I did hear from Susan Kraft, and the road commission has reported that they don't warrant a stop sign.
Right.
there,
Yeah, that's
at all. So there'll be no stop signs on Gates.
Right.
I wanted it to be a three-way stop because I thought that was the safest way for for pedestrians to cross. But I did offer to Susan that for sure we would sit down and I could go over our sidewalk process and what's been involved in the updates that we're doing on the residential side to bring those into ADA compliance. We'd have to reduce the grade, remove obviously the curb and gutter so that people on bikes, pushing
Right.
strollers, right, can actually cross the road there. And so absolutely, I offered to meet with them next week, and hopefully we can come to some sort of,
Good.
you know, idea. Unfortunately, there's not gonna be a stop sign there, although I did also have a conversation with John Paul Rea, and expressed some concerns about the road commission not truly understanding and hearing the needs of what our residents are conveying to them, because there's many issues. The turn light at the Four Corners, the stoplight at Sisson Street, the speed limit on both St. Clair and on Van Dyke that I have emailed over and over, and I've encouraged our residents, like maybe the squeaky wheel gets the oil, right? So if you could also reach out to, you know, the road commission and express that concern, and it's sort of met with a, well, we know better than you do, and this is what our traffic data indicates, and so we're gonna stick by that. So I've asked John Paul if we could sit down and really have a discussion so that there could be maybe a little more give and take, and that they could understand from the residents who live here, right, who are trying to turn out off of Sisson, who are walking to the park every day, are experiencing, and a reason that they should maybe be a little more considerate of our request. So
Right.
I'm absolutely going to continue that conversation. Thank you so much for bringing it forward, and hopefully we're going to make some progress soon.
Yeah, I would like that. And just for the record, I didn't ask for a stop sign because I don't want one there either. I asked for just painted lines or maybe even a sign that says crosswalk. I mean, that, you know, something
Yeah.
basic was all I was looking for.
There were some other residents that asked for a stop sign to be there as well, and
Yeah.
I thought, well, that's the safest route, because as fire trucks are coming in and out, I thought a stop sign would even assist with that.
Yeah,
I like the stop sign idea as
But
well.
yeah.
stop sign is apparently not in their plans with their
Yeah.
traffic study.
But so the extent of what, at this point, what the village can offer is to share the process of what you've gone through here. But there's, if what I'm hearing is there's nothing we can do collaboratively to get any kind of sign or any kind of painting, or if we could even reach out, the village could reach out to the road commission as well, like you said, the squeaky wheel kind of thing.
Right, well, and I've already had that conversation, but I'm happy to have it again, as far as what will they do there, and it's probably worth a collaborative meeting. I
Okay.
indicated to Susan and to Mike that I could meet with them next week to discuss.
Great.
What does that project look like, and what would it cost share be? If they're gonna put the sidewalk on their park side, does the village, you know, take care of the 2 crosswalks on the village side? I don't know, but
Okay.
we'll have those discussions and hopefully bring back something positive.
Okay, that would be great. So if anyone else has a concern, let Christine know. Well, like she said, the squeaky wheel. Thank you.
Hopefully.
Thank you.
Anybody else for public comment?
Can I just ask one quick question? Who does the road commission report to?
I believe that would be, well, I don't know if it's ultimately the county executive. My contact is John Paul Rea, the deputy executive, and Don Brown, board commission chairman. So, and both of them have been very responsive, you know, and willing to meet and have discussions. It's just actually getting the buy-in to get something done, when it, maybe their data doesn't warrant it.
But they know more than what the people want.
That's, well, that's, right.
It's always been a topic.
Their data, not that they know, their data indicates something other than what we are all experiencing here in the village. Yes.
Hi, my name is Catherine Rice. I live in Washington Township. I am here tonight to address the sidewalk situation by Romeo Middle School and the new lighting, hopefully, that is to be put in. So a quick search from the U.S. Department of Transportation says that only about 13% of kids ages 5 to 14 actually walk or cycle to school. That's a drop from about 48% 20 years ago. So we all used to kind of ride or walk to schools, but a big major reason for that is parents are citing problems with sidewalks, no sidewalks, poorly maintained sidewalks, poor lighting, dusk, speeding, major roads, things of that nature. So even though the kids only live a few blocks away, if there's no sidewalk, for them to walk on, they're not doing it. And so that's statistics from the U.S. Department of Transportation. Also said that on average there's about 100 kills a year of kids. They didn't reference an age range, but I'm assuming school-age kids. 25,000 injuries occur every year from pedestrian versus vehicle. So this is what I've seen, because my kids don't walk. We live on 29 Mile. It's too far to walk. So I do drive them in the morning because the bus situation is tedious and tenuous. So I drive. But because children aren't walking to school that potentially could, there's huge backups on 32 Mile, both ways. And it poses a major risk and danger, not only to vehicle versus vehicle, but pedestrian versus vehicle, bicycles versus vehicle. And I was a little bit late tonight because I wanted to take a quick look, and it's quite a long stretch without a sidewalk. And up to the crosswalk where the middle school is, it's all grass. So we're talking squishy, wet, yucky, snow, rain, mud. Kids are going to be uncomfortable, obviously. They can be a little uncomfortable. It's okay for kids to be a little uncomfortable, but wet, soggy shoes sets them up for a poor day at school, and they're not going to learn. So that's a major reason why I really feel strongly that we can do good work here and get a nice, clean, safe, salted sidewalk in for the kids. Also, the drop-off line, if we can reduce that, I think that would be amazing. And I think it'll help a little bit. Kids jaywalking, kids don't pay attention, and they're on their phones and they're not paying attention. I think we all know that. So statistically, for the plan for the safest route, we have to have less traffic, slower speeds, lighting, sidewalks, and if possible, a barrier, which we're not gonna get, and that's fine, but a sidewalk is good enough. So the rules are, if there's no sidewalk, this is from the CDC, walk as far to the left as you can facing traffic. I don't think we want our kids in the street facing traffic when they're walking to school in the morning. So I'm for the sidewalk, whatever we gotta do to get it in, and I thank you for your time.
Thank you, Heather.
Hi, Ruth Heidebreck, 354 Salem Drive South, Romeo, and also the MIT-TV. I just want to make an announcement that we have received a couple of requests from the candidates from the Village of Romeo and also the Board of Education candidates to have to return the forum to our programming. So we will be inviting everyone to come to this forum. It's the same format as it was last time. It's not a debate. And we will be offering 2 different dates shortly after Labor Day, after Peach Festival. So we want to invite all the candidates to contact us and give us their street address and name, and we will send them an invite. Thank you.
Thank you.
Greg Tarr, 167 South Main, building owner. Just want to take a minute and thank you, Christine, for your hard work getting these crosswalks done. There's been a lot of excitement in front of my building, across the street, down the street, but it's something that I had pushed for a couple of years, and I'm glad to see it happening. I've had a few buildings on Main Street for a while and a few in the downtown district area. And crossing over the years with a client or a guest or whatever to get across the street to a restaurant or whatever it might be has always been a challenge. So appreciate your efforts. I appreciate you pushing on it and making it a reality. I appreciate all the extra work that's been down in a couple of these corners that threw you some surprises. So just want to let you know that, and we'll keep watching and keeping our fingers crossed it gets done by Peach Festival. So thank you.
That's the plan. I'll update it in a little bit in my president's report, but thank you,
I'll wait
Greg.
for it.
Yes,
Thanks.
thank you. Anybody else for public comment?
Even the sidewalk goes in by Romeo, will it be salted? Will it be salted?
It will become just like any other sidewalk in the village, and it will be the owners, whether it's the funeral home or the church's responsibility for the care and maintenance of it. I wish we could get it heated. Not really gonna happen, right? But, so I'm assuming that they will salt it, but yeah, but it would be their responsibility.
Cemetery sidewalks?
the DPW should be salting the sidewalks there already along that existing walk. Correct, Tim? Yeah, he's nodding yes. Anybody else for public comment? Okay. Oh, sure. Need to work on that path. We need to figure out how to shorten it, or it's like a maze, yeah.
How you doing? Chris Owacki, 192 Turner. I just real briefly wanted to bring up the sidewalk repair initiative program. I don't know how many of you received letters or not. I'm just bringing it up because I felt like it came really quick. I only had 3 sections to do, which was not too many. It was about $250 in repair cost to me. But I guess I felt like in the letter there wasn't too much detail there with what was expected, if I could make the repairs or not. I made some calls. I talked to Justin Parker, talked to Nate. You came over and checked it out for me to let me know it was a trip hazard, which I understood and that was fine. But initially I didn't know because I'm on the corner of Prospect and Turner. So I saw Turner side of my street. There was some issues there as well. I'm like, well, I don't really see an issue here. And I'm not really sure what the problem is when Nate came by and told me. So I understood, but I was also kind of like, well, wish there was a little more notice. You know, what if I had 10 or 15 that I would have had to repair and it was like a $1,500 bill? I can't fork that over in 2 weeks, you know what I mean? Is there a payment plan? What other ways can I repair this myself? Are there ways I can do this myself? You know, kind of a list of some of the stuff that would have been nice to see on that letter. So I just kind of wanted to bring that up and just see if there's any way to be a little more detailed with that, if that's something we can get going forward. And is there a schedule? When is Turner going to be done? Because I think, Nate, you said maybe a year or two. You're not really sure when that was going to start. Just kind of if there's a way to maybe put up a schedule on the website, like, hey, these streets we're going to be doing, you know, this year, next year, cost breakdown, what to look for, if there's repairs I can do myself or hire out, you know, just a little more detail, I guess, is what I was looking for. So yeah, that was my biggest thing there that I wanted to bring up and see if that's something we could address. So,
All right,
I guess that's all I really want to bring up, so I appreciate it.
Yep.
Thanks.
Right, it's getting close to 7:30. Mike's not online yet, right? No. Okay, so we'll just wait for him. Is there anybody else in public comment?
Just, what kind of time frame are we sending letters out in for those sidewalks?
Well, the letters go out and say that they need to respond within 20 days, right? And then, but we've been communicating with them that to not send any money right now, because once the work is done, then they get an invoice. But we haven't committed to a time frame because we never know what weather, what scheduling with our contractor is gonna look like.
Yeah, I just didn't know how much time notice we were giving the residents, so you said they roughly have 20 days.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, from the date that they received the letter to send that back to us, knowing that, yeah, field those calls. Absolutely. Okay, we're gonna close public comment. I'm gonna move into our president's report because Mike McDonald is not online yet. So my president's report for August 15th. Let me start with a quick update on the Great Lakes Water Authority water main break issue. The boil water alert for water customers in Romeo will be in effect for the duration of repairs. The alert, however, is limited to the Romeo Industrial Corridor only. This is not for residential customers who are serviced by Romeo's municipal well system. One time, we're all grateful that we're on a well, right? We may not like the water, but at least we have it, and we don't have to boil it. The industrial area is designated as east of M53, which is where the Ford engine plant is, along 32 Mile Road to Powell, and then north of 32 Mile Road up to 33 Mile Road, again, along Powell Road. So that's the industrial corridor. That's the portion that lost water. That's the portion of the village that remains under the boil water alert. Our municipal well system was not affected by Great Lakes water main break, and water pressures were maintained at all times in our residential areas. In the Romeo Great Lakes water system area, Romeo is currently providing water to Bruce Township through the emergency connection at the Dorsey Dickinson valve. DPW Supervisor Tim Metz has reported that the Romeo pump boosters were brought back online yesterday, that we are currently able to maintain 80 PSI in both our industrial area and also in Bruce Township. but the boil water advisory remains in effect until the repairs are completed per Great Lakes Water Authority. If you are in the affected areas, please note that the boil water advisory is for drinking water only. FEMA is reporting that it is okay to wash dishes, do laundry, bathe, etc., just not to consume it. You can visit the Macomb County FEMA website for specific instructions. My office will continue to provide updates on our website and Facebook pages. You can follow us at the Village of Romeo on Facebook. If warranted, I will send out another Text My Gov emergency alert. If you received the alert this weekend, that's great. If you have not signed up to receive notifications, I encourage you to text the word Romeo to 91896 and reply to the prompt to opt in. I brought some printed flyers. They're over there on the table. We put this up on our Facebook post as well. It looks like this. There are two ways that you can communicate effectively through text with the village. One is to report issues such as a missed trash pickup or other areas of concern. You can just text in that. And then there's the alert notification, which is for emergency purposes only down here, how to text in that keyword. So if you haven't done that, please take a moment, get logged in. That way we can hopefully get a better share of communication going in emergency situations in the future. Hopefully we'll have none, but we never know, clearly, when we're going to have a situation. So a few quick construction updates. The pedestrian crosswalk project. The majority of underground pavement removal and preparatory work is now complete on this project. The following is a tentative schedule. So this upcoming week, you should see the final pavement removals and manhole adjustments. Concrete work is scheduled for the middle of the week to finish all remaining curb and gutter sections, followed by the sidewalk ramps. The scope of concrete work was increased last week as a solution to the non-functional storm catch basin issue. It was discovered after the demo was underway that the drain on the corner of Washington and Main Street is not hooked up to anything, just doesn't go anywhere. It was not a feasible option to hook up without a lengthy delay and an extreme cost increase. They would have had to bore underneath Van Dyke to the opposite corner to hook up. Our row engineers, the contractor, building owners, and DPW supervisor, myself, we all met on site last week to discuss options. It was ultimately decided to change the grades where the failing asphalt exists so we could gain the flow needed to direct the stormwater down Washington Street. And I have requested the Department of Roads to cover the unexpected cost of $8,272 since it's their road. Next week of August 22nd, asphalt repairs are scheduled to make all final pavement repairs. Once the asphalt repairs are complete, the majority of the barricades and traffic shifts can be removed. The final major items of the work on this project will be the installation of the special crosswalk materials at all 6 intersections, as well as new signs to call out the crosswalks to motorists. The actual dates of work on that have not been confirmed, but tentatively it will be towards the end of the week of August 22nd or at the beginning of the week of August 29th. Traffic shifts and temporary barricading will have to be in place for the crosswalk materials, but this is expected to be completed in about 2 work days. So, Mike McDonald is online. Thank you for that. I'm almost done, Mike. Give me just a second. The Powell Road repaving project, County Executive Mark Hackle, Supervisor Philbrook, Supervisor Paderak, and myself held a press conference along Powell Road last Thursday on this $1.9 million repaving project. The Powell Road project includes federal aid that we received, $1.4 million. The Macomb County Department of Roads is picking up $212. The Village of Romeo approved $160,000. Armada Township, $106,000, and Bruce Township, $53,000. Construction, so it totals a $1.9 million project. That's huge. Construction is set to begin this week. We have a pre-construction meeting on Thursday. It's expected to be completed April of '23. Through traffic access to all businesses and to 33 Mile Road will be maintained, but please expect delays and if possible, avoid the area to help with congestion. 2 last quick items. I attended the Michigan Association of Mayors and Presidents Conference in Cadillac, August 4th, 5th, and 6th. This was an excellent networking opportunity with over 40 other municipalities from all over the state represented. There were 2 standout work sessions. One was facilitated by Alfredo Hernandez. He's the DEI Director of Michigan Civil Rights on Diversity, Equity, and Inclusion. I'll be sharing some of the best practices and materials that were covered at a later date. And second was a session on active assailant awareness facilitated by Ryan Minesberg, the Port Huron Police Sergeant. This presentation focused attendees on situational awareness, and I thought it was so informative that I've asked our Police Chief, Dan Sokolnicki, to work with Sergeant Meisberg and bring the 3-hour workshop here as a community engagement event. So stay tuned for that date announcement. And always, in closing, my number one priority is to serve our residents and our beautiful community. When important issues arise, please know I will always make time for you to discuss your concerns. Our office strives to achieve complete transparency, and every single staff member and I will always do our very best to assist you. Do not hesitate to reach out to any of us.
Christine, are we going to do striping this year? That just made me think with the crosswalks. We haven't done that, and it would be a great time after we're finished with this.
That was the target. I looked at them. They're starting to fail, but they are still in place.
Yeah.
We typically have done it before Peach Fest.
Yeah,
Yes. And so I didn't think we were going to get it done this year, but we can certainly take a look at that. The striping in the areas where the pedestrian crosswalks, those parking spaces that have been disrupted, those contractors are replacing that work. If we could hold off just a minute on the clerk's report and get back to the reports for a second.
Christine, real quick, before we jump in, could you just recap one more time on the Powell Road project? And we talked a little bit this morning. I fielded a lot of calls about other municipalities paying for our road. Could you just sum that up again? How that was broke down and why it was broken down that way? It wasn't us asking.
Right,
the outer
so
communities
it
to
is the
pay.
Road Commission's project. Ultimately, they secured the federal funding through a TAP grant that the 3 municipalities paid for. And it's their process and their rules that it is a major thoroughfare that accesses Bruce Township. The industrial corridor is within Bruce Township, and it's the main pass-through to 33 Mile Road, which leads right to their municipality. So originally, this project was a 3-way split between Romeo, Bruce, and Washington. There was some concern on Bruce Township's side because they're having some financial difficulties. They didn't think they could afford that. Armada Township also said, look, you just annexed 71 acres of mine. I'm not going to have as much revenue generated from that. And they both asked for a cost reduction, which is why we had a special meeting last 2 weeks ago, because they asked us to pick up a bigger share of that project. So to recap, Romeo was $160,000, Armada Township $106,000, and Bruce Township $53,000.
Thank you.
You mentioned Washington Township.
Washington Township is not serviced by Powell Road at all, because it's only north of 32 Mile Road. Yes. Mike, are you ready for us? Can you hear us?
I can hear you. Yes,
Okay,
thank you.
perfect.
Thank you, everybody.
I know he can't see us, by the way, because there's no video camera, but there's audio, so he can hear us. And I appreciate you jumping on to help us tackle these couple of issues. So if we could skip ahead to the sidewalk extension. And Mike, if you want to recap your bid tabulation in the process and your recommendation letter, just for clarification, the Board of Trustees has been working on a proposed 32 Mile Road sidewalk connection project for some time. The bid package was prepared by Hubble, Roth, and Clark, and Clerk Trapp posted the project on the mitten per Romeo's policy. Discussions have been held between President Malzahn and the Romeo Superintendent, Dr. Todd Robinson, who has agreed to present this project to the school board on Monday, August 22nd, to possibly assist with funding of this project, but no formal commitment has been made at this point. So, a little background. Mike, if you could please recap your analysis.
Sure. So, as President Malzahn stated, we received bids, and for the project, we did receive 2 bids that came in this past Thursday. One was the low bid was submitted by Jay Rank, who is a lighting contractor that I believe has a subcontractor that would do the sidewalk work. Their bid was in the amount of $211,733. The second bidder was slightly higher than that. They were a company named JISI Group, and their total bid was $230,355. And then a breakdown of Frank's bid is it's split pretty evenly between the lighting and the sidewalk portion, with the sidewalk portion being 106,993, and then the lighting portion being 104,740.
Dogs and crying babies, you gotta love them, right?
Pardon?
I said dogs and crying babies, you gotta love them both.
I'm sorry. She's like the,
That's okay.
she's up on her perch usually in the bedroom watching over everybody. Anytime anybody walks by the house, she figures she's gotta let us know.
That's okay.
Sorry about that.
That's okay.
So I hope that didn't get muted out too much of my description of the bid results. So we did review the bids, and as I think we talked about when the bids were considered for the Church Street project, they are still a pretty volatile bid climate. Prices are changing pretty rapidly, but we think that the prices we received are still a reflection of that bidding climate, but are, accurate at this point. Two of the bidders were fairly close together, so that's a good sign as well. So we did set the bid up where the board could award one or both of the portions of the work. So if you didn't want to award the lighting, then that could be eliminated from the project, and we could just award the sidewalk portion of it. So we think each price is pretty fair in the current bidding climate. There is likely going to be a delay or a longer time period to receive the lighting materials. So the plan would be to get the sidewalk in as soon as possible, including the work related to the conduit between the light poles and the light pole bases, so that once those lights do arrive, the light standards arrive, they can be placed pretty simply. So that would be the general plan. We would get the contractor on board, have our pre-construction meeting here pretty quick, and then get the contract books signed and in order so that we can get the work completed here pretty quickly. So with that, if anybody has any questions, I'd be happy to answer those.
What is I don't want to say the purpose, but what is the lighting going to add for us there? Because I know we already got street lighting in the area, and that's how it's been for decades, right? With the other sidewalk on the north end. And it's always been pretty well lit, because I know there's a street light, I think, in front of Malberg's. There's a newer one by the high school, and then one just to the east also. They light up the area pretty well. I guess I'm just a little hesitant about adding sidewalk lighting just in that one section. I know we have in the downtown area, but all the other residential streets, all we have is the overhanging streetlights.
Right, if I may.
There is
Sorry.
I'm going to say there is some street lights out more adjacent to the road, as you mentioned, but the majority of this sidewalk is set back from the right of way, so that's why we added the alternate to add the lighting in decorative, but will provide lighting right directly adjacent to the sidewalk where that's going to be installed.
Yeah, this is something that I personally asked for because I do drive that way to school. And think of the arm into the street, and the child is standing here. There's no light that is dark on that child. So I asked for a light to be placed shining down onto that corner so that the children are lit up so that the drivers see them there.
And as he mentioned, we decided because of the tree and the existing infrastructure that's in that right-of-way, we asked for a jog in the sidewalk to push it back almost 30 feet along the church's property. So there's no way that the street light, that cantilever hanging can, is going to project that far into the property as they walk up that way. And we know pretty soon with the time change, it's going to be dark when they're walking to school.
Yeah, it's pitch black in the morning.
You're right,
Yes.
Justin, you're right. On the cemetery side, it's right up close to the road. That's why the lights can hit that really well.
No,
It was a better shot.
I see the new light at Tilson and Sisson, and that thing lights up streets, the houses across the street, the backyards. So I mean, it's pretty bright with the street lighting. If we just did new street lighting with DTE, just looking at cost, I think the sidewalk would be lit pretty well with the right street lighting in place.
I just, as a side note, so thank you for the comments, Justin, I did put this on social media. I don't know if anybody saw the media post. There was an abundance of support for the project. I did receive 2 emails in support of the project, one from a Tom Boothby, sending an email in support of the initiative to get the sidewalk on the south side of 32 Mile Road. This would benefit many, including middle schoolers and those with a handicap. And then one from Julie Grover brought to my attention that there is an opportunity for the village to connect the sidewalks on the south side of 32 Mile Road from Bradley to the middle school. I think this is a fantastic idea. It would really benefit our community. I personally have 2 middle schoolers who walk to school and have to either walk on someone's lawn or cross or not cross at the cross light. There are many kids in our corner of town, and this improvement would be a welcome addition for many. That's what she has to say. So.
Well, and there was a time where we were splitting it with Washington, the school said they would step in and put in 1%.
When I originally talked about this project, I had invited Supervisor O'Leary at the time to a meeting because I would have swore that that property was in Washington Township. And Supervisor O'Leary corrected me, and looking at the tax rolls, yeah, that, because I wondered why on earth would the sidewalk stop in the middle of somebody's property? That must be the property boundary or the village boundary line. That's not the case. And so I also had conversations with Darryl Raz, the developer who put in Copperwood Commons. And he offered at the time to use the sidewalk money that he was required to pay into Washington Township's sidewalk project for some of his other developments, dedicate that to paying for that connecting sidewalk in Romeo. He felt that strongly that it was needed, and Washington Township would not allow him to do that. So Supervisor O'Leary, I know that Washington Township has a sidewalk program. They are looking to connect Campground to Applewood so that there's a solid, that Copperwood to Apple Valley right now is connected, but not along those row of houses to Campground. But that's on their sidewalk project list. So it was quickly determined that Washington Township wasn't interested in partnering with us on this project. So I just sort of took it to Dr. Robinson, and he's willing to take a look at it and talk to his school board about funding. But there's been no commitment. So if we're going to approve this project, I don't want to assume that they will.
Maybe I'm remembering incorrectly, because I thought there was some sort of a percentage commitment, or were we just talking about percentages?
We were just talking about the possibility of, and I think I would hope that the school board would realize that this sidewalk really is truly benefiting the majority of their attendees at Romeo Middle School. But
I remember with that conversation, now that we're chatting about it, part of that was we will be assuming the cost for that electric. So if they would throw in 1% of the sidewalk, and we would assume that, that's kind of our half-seas there.
yes, so Dr. Robinson and I talked last week, and we agreed to have other meetings to discuss that once he takes it before a school board and see what their thought process is. So
I'm disappointed in Washington Township though, because those are their students that walk on that side.
but it is not, I mean, just playing devil's advocate, it's not their municipality.
I know,
right?
I know.
Right.
And we didn't throw in
It's not
some things
Bruce's
that go
either.
on
Right.
at the high school that our children go to. They put in a light, they did other things, and they didn't come to us. So I mean, I guess
yes,
we all take care of our own stuff in our own place.
For a quick clarification, the sidewalk did end there, because that's where the village used to stop when they put the sidewalks in. And I don't think that parcel was annexed into the 80s at some point, so that's why it did stop there originally. I know it was a question, I saw the Facebook post and I was
great
like,
information to have. I had no idea. It
Yeah,
did
we
literally
annexed
makes
it.
no sense to me looking at it, why it would just literally stop.
The Episcopalian Church is like the last property.
yeah, it is now.
Yes.
It didn't used to be.
Okay, well, does anybody have any other questions for HRC on this?
Yeah, have we checked the sidewalk that comes out of Copperwood? Does that go right to the township's line, or are we extending any into Washington Township to connect to that sidewalk?
It actually comes a little bit into Romeo.
There's
It meets
not-
the driveway, the horseshoe driveway for the church. That sidewalk meets the.
Theirs stops well back. It stops just past their berm for Copperwood. So I would just be concerned that we're gonna be paying and putting sidewalk into Washington Township, and it's not our jurisdiction. Because their sidewalk doesn't come in that far.
It looks like it ends right about at the village township line there, just to the east of that Copperwood Drive.
Yeah.
Looks like they took it right about to the.
Right to the boundary.
Common city village limit, township village limit.
If we were to, I'm sure there'll be a survey done at some point. If we find that we have to encroach into Washington, I mean, we have to get an agreement with them to do that, if we're gonna fund that, or how does that work?
I guess I would have to take that as it would come up if that's an issue, right? I mean, I've had discussions with Sam, who was, in favor of getting at least his portion of the sidewalk, again, to campground, but that's years away, he said. It's not their number one priority in their schedule of things, but.
Yeah. I'm fully for the project, I just wanna make sure we're not crossing that boundary.
I have a big question. You had mentioned that the way that you set it up, we could pick and choose. Is that a pick and choose as in we could do, say, sidewalk from one group and lighting from the other? Or we have to go with one group and either choose one, both from that same group?
I think the intent was to award the project to one bidder. And I think I did look at the costs, and they were cheaper through rank both ways, but okay.
Yes.
Yes.
Rank is the low bidder on both, the sidewalk portion at $106,993, and the lighting portion at $104,740, for a total project cost of $211,733.
Yeah, they were the lowest on each.
Right,
Yeah,
I just wanted to
I'd
understand
suggest
that.
going with one for both, just for choreographing and laying everything out.
One question, the holdup for the having to wait is the light fixtures, is that the case?
Mike, is the holdup for the light fixtures themselves? Is that would be the delay in the electrical portion or the lighting portion of it?
Yes, that's correct. The
Can it-
light poles, what you're calling the light standards, those are the long lead items that they've informed us about, so they're supposed to be providing some information on that.
If that's standard, if we were to approve this for doing the infrastructure, putting the sidewalks in, conduit and that, and hold off on the purchase of the actual fixtures, hoping that they're general enough that what we're doing would work for whatever, and then purchasing the lights, and my hope is that maybe the school would help with the lighting. Because if we disapprove this, I mean, I would hope that they would still come back, but if the urgency is for us to get the contractor to get part of it, does it make sense that we could hold off on it's $50,000 for the light fixtures, it looks like. If we could hold off on the purchase of that in our contract now, with the intent of putting lights in, purchasing the light. The conduit, the footings, all that gets put in, but just not the purchase of those lights that are on back order anyway. Does that make sense?
I don't understand the benefit of doing that.
Yeah, if we don't order them now and pay for them, we're just gonna be that much farther behind.
My thought is on what we would be buying and then working with the school, that the school would help with the lighting. We're putting in the sidewalk, can the school help fund the lighting?
So when I talked to Dr. Robinson, he said whatever contractor is gonna bid at this, because I also gave him the bid package, wanting to know if he would post it wherever their bid system was. And he said whatever contractor the village chose was fine. It was just about a funding level, not about splitting sources to have his person do this part or
I
our
wasn't
person
thinking to
do
do
that
it,
part.
but I just figured the cost, if the lights are gonna cost $50,000,
Right.
we are still purchasing that maybe the school would see the value in putting the lighting in. That was just my one thought, because I definitely want to do this. I just wish we had, the board, the school board had already discussed this a little further.
Correct. Timing is just.
Because, I mean, if we
right.
disapprove this, though,
Right.
I don't think anything else is gonna happen.
I can't answer that.
Well, I would make a motion that we do go with the J Rank Electric Incorporated for the amount of both, for the 211,733.
I'll second.
It would be nice to take this to the board and that they would hear us and do something. I have faith in our relationships, and the fact that we have this done and completed to hand to them and show them the extent of it would show our commitment to it and our faith in it also.
I agree. So we have a motion by Posanski, we have support by Parker. Was there any other audience comment? Anybody wanted to offer a comment?
I just wanted to mention real quick, this isn't just for the kids. This is for seniors too, wheelchairs, electric wheelchairs.
Right.
This is for the entire community. I mean, it's primarily for kids walking to school, but really it's for everyone, so.
It's a good point.
Thank you for that. All right, hearing no other comments, could you do a roll call, please?
Poznanski?
Yes.
Parker?
Yes.
Bartholomew?
Yes.
Edwards?
Yes.
Fowler?
Yes.
Hart?
Yes.
President Melzan?
Yes.
Motion carries 7-0.
So let's work on those bid books. And now, if we could segue into the parking lot issue. We've had some issues with the contractor. And Mike is on the line to sort of give us a quick update and potential action that this board may need to take this evening. So, we met this morning for the Bruce Sewer Subcommittee. Justin and Matt were both in on that conversation. And we've had we obviously awarded the parking lot contract 6 or 8 weeks ago. I'd have to go back and double check that date. June 15th was in the June meeting. And the contractor has not signed the books yet. And he has asked for some concessions and a bunch of odd stipulations that our engineering firm had not ever heard of. So we're trying to figure out, does he not want to do the project? What does that look like legally? Do we rescind the offer? And I know he was reaching out to not only Superior Concrete, who was awarded the bid, but also the second lowest bidder, Telto. Mike, and if you want to recap that conversation for everybody, please.
Will do, thank you. So as you stated, the big books, the contract books, have still not been signed. We finally did get word from him here, I think it was about 3 weeks ago, that he had issues with some of the stipulations and requirements of various places in the contract / specification book. Middle of last week, we received those comments. There was probably 12 various pages from throughout the book that he had redlined or crossed out with things that, again, I've never seen before. A contractor do this after a bid has been submitted and the contract books are provided to them. They were, a variety of things where it was pretty clear that he's trying to shift liability from himself to either the village or HRC or a combination thereof. So Christine and I spoke about that last week. We happen to have the sewer subcommittee meeting this weekend, so we provided those to village attorney late last week, and we talked about them this morning, and we agreed that it would be something we wouldn't want to accept those changes. So we did call the contractor this morning. I spoke with the president this morning and a couple times this afternoon, and just told him verbally that we had received and reviewed his required changes to the specification and contract book with the village administration and village attorney, and that we could not accept those required changes, and that if he didn't accept the contract book as it was bid and provided to him for signatures, that we would not be able to enter into an agreement with him. And he said, well, it's probably best if we don't move forward with the job, so I'd say we give it to the second bidder. Actually, I didn't put this in the email, but he actually said, I already talked to him to let him know that might happen, which I thought was kind of odd. So he went on to talk about some material issues with castings and storm structures that, I said, well, I don't know that really matters if you're not going to accept the contracts, that's beside the point, but if that's the reason that you're not signing it, we could likely work through those, we could work through those, because we all know in this day and age, there's material shortages and delays, and we can verify those and work through that. But he still wasn't willing to accept the language, and then I said, okay, well, I wouldn't be surprised if the village and their attorney elect to pursue your bid bond since you didn't accept the bid that you were awarded and submitted. And he said something to the effect, well, then that may change things. I don't really know what that means. He didn't offer, didn't elaborate. Not sure if that meant he would accept or not, but I left it with him that I would be attending the Board of Trustees meeting tonight, and we would be getting back with him shortly. So he did call me a couple other times this afternoon about these material things. Didn't say that he changed his mind or anything, but that he was just trying to gather info. So not sure what'll happen, but maybe he accepts it if we actually do go after his bid bond. I think that's, which is like 5% of his bid, so it would be about $7,500. So not a great deal of money, but that may be something that we want to pursue. So that would be the one option. Hopefully he accepts and is able to mobilize and get out quickly and does the job that we would expect. The second option could be awarding to the second low bidder, which was Telto, as you mentioned, and their bid was $183,740. So I did make contact and tried to reach out to the president of Telto late this morning. He's on vacation this week, but their office manager thought they'd be interested, and said she'd try to reach out to him today. She did call me back later in the afternoon and said that they would do it for, the pricing. But I got a call back from, the president did call me. He said that he would like to review his pricing because he thinks that some things may have changed. Didn't have anything to really tell me on that, what that might be, but I said, well, I think that if they were to consider awarding to you, would be for what we did previously. I understand everything changed, but that's why we're asking you ahead of time. And he understood. Won't be back from vacation until next week. I think he's taking his son up to college UP, so probably wouldn't have time to review his numbers. But I told him that we will know something in the morning. I can let you guys know, or if you have thought about the pricing a bit more. And if need be, we wait till next week to find out if that's something we want to have him confirm before we move forward. And another option is then the third option, if we don't want to award the second bidder, and it didn't obviously work out with the low bidder, we could elect to rebid the project and have those bids available for review prior to the September Board of Trustees meeting. So those are the three options. I wish I had better news. I'm really frustrated that the low bidder didn't hear this sooner and weren't able to work through these things.
All right, thank you for that recap. So I don't know that we need to take any board action tonight. I'd like to have some direction, so we don't have to call a special meeting if it looks like Telto will accept the award, if Superior does decide to walk, but that's your comfort level and whatever, direction you guys want to
I
head.
have one question. Did you mention that the two contractors were talking? Is that what I heard? As far as discussing their bid?
Well, the bids, this is coming from the low bidder. He mentioned that I called him, and this would have been, I assume, just within the last week or two since he submitted his required changes to the contract. So that is something that is concerning. And if it would have happened during the bid process, obviously that goes against the procurement requirements. But their bids have been received. I don't know if they're friends, and he was just giving them a heads up. Hey, by the way, my guess is the village is not going to accept these changes to the contract, the job may be yours because you were the second bidder, or why he did that. Maybe he just simply doesn't want to do the darn job. I don't know, but yes, he did mention to me that he had called over to Telto.
And what are the price differences?
About $30,000.
More, what?
Telto is more, right, mm-hmm.
I'm not sure I feel comfortable with the low bidder that he wouldn't just walk away from the job right in the middle of it if he feels he's losing money.
And he may end up working. for the
Absolutely,
second guy anyway.
at 149, it's 149 and 183.
Christine?
That's correct.
I happen to be one of the third bidder on that job, and one of the two, I'm assuming Telto did not have a bid bond, so I'm not even sure why his bid was being considered. I was at the bid opening. There's 3 bidders and one.
He had a bid bond. He
One of
did.
them didn't, for sure.
They all did. It was confirmed.
Was it just missing? Because we were both there.
It was at the bottom of the stack, but it was confirmed.
Okay.
It is confirmed that they have a bid bond.
So, Mark, I don't mean to put you on the spot, but what's involved in going after their bid bond? Is that a legal action? Is that what?
You'd have to notify the bondholder, I think it's Cincinnati Insurance, I don't know the name of the company, but anyway, demand that they remit the funds to the village based on the violation of the acceptance of the bid. They probably won't do that voluntarily. The village would probably have to sue to enforce the acceptance of the bid and the bond that was posted. I think what the insurance company will want to do, I mean, the great thing would be if I wrote them a letter and they said, okay, here's the check. I doubt that that's going to happen. They probably would require some kind of an action in the circuit court. In this case, it would be in Mount Clemens, the Macomb County Circuit Court, and to enforce the bond based on the failure of the bid or the failure to comply with the accepted bid.
How much you said, do we?
It's about $7,500.
Yeah.
Do option 3. Rebid.
So it would offset that 30,000 a little bit, but.
And so right.
Rebid and put it back on.
Right, I agree with that. I think it's just clear, but I don't know if we need a formal motion to rescind the bid award to Superior and then reissue.
Well, what.
If we do that, then does that run our chance of going down?
What I would not rescind it. My recommendation is that you proceed for the moment, if you can authorize Mr. McDonald to have further conversations. If that's fruitful, there's no sense beating heads against the wall, but if that's fruitful, to authorize additional conversations. If not, authorize me to demand payment of the bid bond from the insurance company, and then failing those things or those things not being fruitful, to then rebid it. But I would not rescind the existing arrangement.
Okay.
I have a question for you.
He may not be able to hear you because you're not talking into the microphone, but.
As far as some of the red lines that the contractor had drawn through, were they on the bid sheet or like stuff he was adding or deleting?
Mike, did you hear that?
I did, yeah, so I think the question was, were they on the bid sheet? And I don't believe they were. I did not, typically the bidders don't submit the entire specification book at that time, the bid book. It's usually a couple hundred pages. Many times they'll just take out the proposal form and the addendum form for the project, and then include a copy of their bid bond. So I'm not sure if they actually just did that and had the whole book, but I don't believe that they had any exclusions within their bid. They marked up the book similarly to the way that they presented those and provided those markups last week. Now, they are not allowed to do that anyway. It's clear in the bid documents that they are not allowed to make any changes to it there to bid the job as it was publicly posted and available. So anything that they had question-wise, they would have had to question the documents. They would have had 2.5, 3 weeks to submit, or not 2.5, it was about a 3-week bid period, as I recall. They would have had time period to submit questions, which actually did come in during that bid period, and then it would have been answered to everybody so that all bidders had the same information and could have based their bid accordingly. So, but I don't believe they had submitted that. I mean, otherwise he would have submitted it to me the day we gave him the contract book. So when I called him to tell him he was a low bidder, so nothing like that was provided.
So all of them had the same information to bid on?
Yes.
He just went
They
through
did,
it?
yes.
Mike, what's a reasonable time moving forward now, knowing this situation and see how it plays out, to say, if he doesn't get the book signed into my office by Wednesday, right? Is 48 hours enough? Does it have to be to Friday? What's the reasonable time frame on which he either is going to commit or we're going to authorize Mark to go after the bid bond? If he doesn't sign.
I would say that 48 hours is very generous. He's had it for quite some time, so I can certainly call him and send him an email. It's not from his owner, it's receiving something from Mark, that get the lawyers involved so quickly, but just let him know that we met and we are authorized to let him know that he has 48 hours, close the business on Wednesday, to either accept the bids and the project and contract as he bid, and then proceed accordingly. Provide us a schedule of when he can start and when he's going to finish.
And then is there a required time lapse from when he does or doesn't commit? Say he doesn't commit within the 48 hours, Mark is going to be authorized to go after the bid bond. Do we have a waiting period of which we have to observe before we bid it out again? Or can we just immediately post that?
I would think a letter or email from the village attorney could be sent out. We give them a reasonable two business days to decide. I would think that would be sufficient. He's had them for quite some time. We talked to him about it today, no less, so he's getting more than 48 hours. So I would think that right away we could trigger the correspondence from village attorney, and then see what my guess is it's probably going to generate the bonding company putting some pressure on him to do the darn job. So we can pull the bid probably any time after that, but if we did place them the next day and all of a sudden we get correspondence from him to say that he will actually provide the services in accordance with the contract, then I suppose we could pull the bid off of it and then say that this was determined that the project is not going to be rebid.
Okay.
Well, I fail to have faith in this contractor.
Yeah, I agree. Matt made a good point.
And I get that even though we might make back some monies by going after his bond, at this point, I wouldn't want him anyways. I would almost just be done with it and rebid.
Well, it's pretty much a guarantee, given the market and the rate of inflation that's happening, that the new bids would probably come in higher. And so I think on an outside chance that he would continue to do the work, that's the most economical thing to do. I agree. I have great hesitation, but
we also pay for what we get.
right.
And
Once he starts it, the bid says that he's completing this by August 30th. It was before Peach Fest, right? So he has a very short window, in which case if he doesn't do that, then he starts paying, once he signs the contract, then he starts paying a fine for every day he doesn't do the work. So there are still some built-in protections on us if he fails.
Which I get, and I like having those, but it just, why are we walking into this sort of?
Right, I agree. I'm at a.
Yeah, I have similar reservations that he's going to be a problem child throughout the duration, and
yeah. In no way do I want to spend more money, but at this point, I feel like we're going to spend more money trying
way.
to force him to do his job, and then possibly redoing his job.
So why don't we give him 48 hours to commit? Do you want, and then we can call a special and regroup if he's going to offer to sign the books, and then we can contemplate it?
Mike, could you reach out to the, I think he's here, the other person to put a bid in and see if they'd be willing to stick with their original pricing? And see if, I mean, if the other two are willing to stay with the original bid price, I mean, we've got two other candidates already there to choose from.
I did not speak with anybody from the third bidder, I'm not sure how to pronounce the JISI group. I did not speak with anybody from that firm. Their bid was $241,000, so nearly $100,000 more than the second bidder, or than the low bidder, excuse me,
Yeah.
$60,000 or so more than the second bidder.
Is it the same bidder for the school?
Yes, yes it is. All right. So I want to move on because it's 8:15 and I just am not really sure where to take this.
How long is the, this is, he's changing the scope of the project. And if you're gonna go forward with this guy, he's gonna cut corners someplace, it's gonna be a lousy job.
Don't
And to
disagree.
give him 48 hours, you're fooling yourself. Cut the bait, give him 24 hours to rescind it and walk away from this guy, because he's gonna cut corners on you, and he's gonna be a problem. Don't get yourself caught. But I don't know what the bid process was, but these other bidders, did they give is the bid good for 30 days? Are we in that?
We're outside of that window.
We're outside of that window?
Yes.
Then you gotta rebid the project.
Right, yeah.
Feel comfortable about who the second guys are. You're kidding yourself if you fool around with this guy.
And how long has he had it as is?
6 weeks, I think.
So why would we give him 2 more?
Right. Well, we can just give him 24 hours then. He can either sign the books or,
We could just send him a letter from our lawyer. Maybe
yes.
40 hours. Just to be clear, your contract documents are crystal clear. If you submit a bid, you accept the contract as is.
Exactly.
There's no changes, there's no.
Right. And that's what we've told.
I wish you could.
Right, exactly. So, all right, so I think we have consensus. I don't think we need to take any action right now, but we'll give them 24 hours. Mark, you'll issue the letter, and then we will rebid it. I'll just get it reposted, same bid specs, and bring it back.
Just so I'm clear, who's giving him 24 hours, Mike or me? Mike.
Mike.
All right, and then if he doesn't respond, or the response is, I'm not fulfilling the contract, then I pursue the bid bond. Is that-
Yes.
Okay.
And do you need a motion to do that?
No.
Okay.
But if he does come back and say he does, and he is willing,
Are we
what
stuck?
was our decision?
Are we stuck in this case? If he signs, I have to sign, correct?
Well-
No, you haven't signed yet. He was
Right.
provided blank books with the bid information in it. He's given his insurance and bonding companies. We are the first to sign, and then those are to be provided to the village for your signatures.
And so what's the repercussion if I don't sign? If he signs in 24 hours and I don't sign, then what happens?
Well, if you give him 24 hours to sign and he signs, then you need to sign.
Yeah, okay.
If you're not intending to sign, then don't give him the 24 hours. Just tell me to
I
send
think if we
the,
don't, excuse me, I was gonna say, if we don't want him to complete the job, then we probably, the way to do that would just be to tell him that we're not going to make the changes that you're requesting / requiring. And we're gonna rebid the job, but we're not gonna pursue your bid bond. That's probably, then he probably wouldn't do it. But maybe if we tell him that you've got 24 hours, if you don't sign, that we're gonna go after your bid bond, he may may enter into it because of that. But I'm not sure, but that may be what he was alluding to when he says that may change something.
But Mike, you will be checking on the project, every long, making sure that everything is being done to specs. They aren't cutting corners, you're gonna make sure of that, right?
Well, yeah, through inspection by either us and or the village staff, yes, that would certainly be required, especially for somebody like this firm.
Right.
Okay. Well, any last minute thoughts?
I say we just rebid it now and tell him thanks, but we're gonna.
And don't go after his bid bond?
No,
I
at
think
this
we're
point,
gonna,
I think
that's
it's
a
gonna be more of a
$7,000
headache.
that's gonna blow up into who knows what.
For 7,500, these guys want to do
Okay.
it.
I don't wanna spend more money, but I also have no faith in this vendor whatsoever to not cause us more of a headache and more money not down the road.
Right. Okay,
What the county, Oakland County does sometimes is to see if the contractor, another contractor can do it for that price. That's what they do with some of the
right.
contracts.
Well, that would be up to them to resubmit it, right? I don't want to negotiate with a bid proctor. That just seems like it's problematic to renegotiate the terms of a bid. So I'd rather just reissue the whole project.
Can this candidate that we do not want resubmit a bid then? Will we
Of
start
course he
over?
can, and then when we go to look at that, we could burn it. Well, or just, put a big red X with a line through it, or, okay. So you all would prefer that we just don't go after the bid bond?
I think so, Matt, that's what you were kind of saying too,
Well,
right?
I'm kind of nervous about it because the guy might, like he was saying, the guy might just walk away, you know? and-
Yeah.
Well, we have to
Yeah.
rescind the motion then.
And then you're rebidding a half-done project and someone else it's gonna
Right.
be even more, because now I'm fixing someone else's stuff.
Because there's no way it's gonna be done for
It's hard to
Beach
have
Fest.
confidence in a guy that.
I'd love to take that money, but it
right.
makes me nervous for
Yeah.
the rest of it.
So let's just walk away. Mike, you're just send them and say thanks but no thanks, and we're not going after your bid bond, and
Does that need motion, Mark?
Yeah, if you're gonna rebid it, yes, I would recommend that you make a motion to have the village engineer tell the person who was awarded the bid but did not sign the agreement that the village will not be accepting that. He hasn't accepted it. You don't have a meeting of the minds. You don't have a contract. And tell them if that's your choice to not pursue the bid bond and rebid it. And you should put that in a motion. That's my recommendation.
Put it in a motion. What is your recommendation on doing that process? Or should?
Well, that's up to you. You know what the risks are. You've talked about if you pursue what you thought was the low bidder, the problems, you've identified those. So if you pursue that, if you instruct the village engineer to contact the low bidder and he capitulates and says, yeah, okay, I'll do it, then you're, I don't want to say stuck with it, but now if he agrees, you really can't say, well, I'm not signing the contract. I would not recommend that. So if he capitulates and signs, I think you're, for the most part, locked in. So you know what those risks are. Or you can do the midpoint, if you will, that Mr. McDonald mentioned about giving them 24, 48 hours, and if not, we're going after the bid bond, or you can just rebid it. I don't really have a recommendation. It's your decision as to what path you think is in the best interest of the village.
Who did we award the bid to?
Superior Concrete, excuse me.
Superior. Okay. Is that different than, is that Superior Custom, or is this a different Superior Concrete?
Superior Contracting Group.
Contracting group, okay.
Yep, Superior Contracting Group.
I'd make a motion to rescind the bid offer to Superior Contracting Group and move forward with rebidding the project.
Second.
Okay, so we have a motion by Parker, we have support by Fowler. Any other discussion?
Just, so what is this gonna impact as far as we're gonna be at Beach Fest? And what's
Well,
gonna be the status?
from a timing standpoint, there's no way the guy's gonna be able to finish it. If he started tomorrow, he's not gonna finish it by August 30th. So you might as well now just start after Peach Festival.
That changes.
Yes, we
Because
don't
you
want
don't
any
want
construction.
construction trucks on Church Street, all that over, when you've got children, you know, in the park and all that kind of stuff.
We're not gonna even see bids until after Peach Fest anyways.
So you just,
And it's probably going to become spring work, right?
No, I would think that they could still say that they're getting it done in October, right?
I would think it'd be spring.
you still got the rest of September and
Right, October.
October.
Mid-November. All right, so we have a motion by Parker, we have support by Fowler to rescind the bid award to Superior Contracting and reissue the bid package.
if I could make one suggestion.
Yes, sir.
Yes.
With respect to the motion, that you consider rescinding it because of the bidder's non-performance or non-acceptance, so you're clear why you're rescinding it. It's not that you just had a
Understandable.
change of mind, it's because.
I would alter my motion to include what Mark just said.
So we have a motion by Parker, we have support by Fowler to rescind the bid award to Superior Contracting based on non-performance.
And non-acceptance,
Of the-
non-acceptance and non-performance by that entity. Superior Contracting.
All in favor?
Aye.
Any opposed? Okay. Thank you for your patience, everybody. Thank you, Mike. Appreciate it. All right.
Yeah, thank you for having me, sorry.
All right.
Thanks, Mike.
Have a good night.
Sorry about the parking dog. I will be in touch with them tomorrow to let them know, and then we'll get it, get the dates changed, and I'll get you guys over something here tomorrow or Wednesday so that we can get it posted, and then we'll have it ready for I think it'll be the September 19th Board of Trustee meeting. I think
Correct.
it'll be your next meeting.
Yep. Okay. All right. Thank you. Okay. All right, let's go back to our reports. Clerk Trapp, we left off. All right, thank you. You just want to, yeah, thank you, perfect.
Okay, all right, I'll be quick. The fiscal year 2021-2022 audit process has begun. We are continuing to work with Gay Bridge and Company again this year. The timeline for reports due has been estimated, with reports already having been submitted for review. I've also started working with our accounting team with Plant Moran to get this process in motion and communicating with our auditors. Have started, I've already gotten all the emails, we're starting to roll in. And also, as many of you have heard, we have come in under, for the last year's budget, as we begin the audit, over $400,000 under budget from this past fiscal year. And I also wanted to take this time to extend a big thank you to my office staff, Rebecca, Sydney, and Caroline in our village offices. This staff really goes above and beyond when they are helping out our residents in the community, and I don't think they get all the recognition that they deserve, so I want to say thank you to them. I'm all set.
Thank you. Treasurer Maddox, I don't see Sherry here. Did she submit a treasurer report at all?
Not to me, not to my knowledge.
Okay. So hearing none, the trustee reports. Zach?
Well, yeah, I was, last week, approached by some residents that informed me of this FS&G lawsuit. And I was kind of dumbfounded because I knew nothing about it, but then once I started looking up online when they referred me to it, I noticed that we had responded to it by July 13th. And I thought that we weren't going to do anything about that for a while, or at least you keep us informed, but it was just like a hello.
Yeah, so at this time, MML, our insurance carrier, has assigned special legal counsel to take care of that. Mr. Clark, as you mentioned, did respond by the time that was required for the lawsuit. And so that special legal counsel will be coming at our September meeting to have a closed session to give you some updates.
All right, thanks.
Justin, anything?
Yeah, so, I'm just what Zach was, so, we've responded and we've hired, or working with separate counsel, and my understanding, like, I think it was in the paper, that, is there a court date tomorrow? Are they gonna?
No. I don't know where you read that from,
Okay, I thought
from the
I
court date,
read-
no.
Okay, so we'll be fully informed and up
Of
to
course.
speed before, okay,
Yep.
I was just
Mhm.
kidding, yeah.
Yeah, it's just,
Yeah. So, some of the residents had been asking, Ruth, I don't know if you wanted to give an update on the park tonight. if not, you're here. I reached out to Ruth. She basically just told me still it's a private business venture at this point, and there's no update. I know the Planning Commission has approved an idea, a concept of what's going on.
They approved the site plan, right?
Yes.
Mhm.
Yeah, a concept, right? Because there wasn't anything actually determined, finalized in that?
No,
from
it was.
watching
The only,
meeting
the
back?
only thing that they wanted to
Like
see
the
back was
design?
the actual structure, but the park plan, the layout, the design has been
So, but
approved.
the structure,
Correct.
is that gonna come back then
That's what they
for
requested.
final
Mhm.
approval? Okay,
They're
great.
looking to do some adjustments on the building as far as storage areas.
Okay,
Mhm.
all right. And then, I know people, I mean, they're obviously concerned about the funds that were donated and where they're at. And were you gonna be able to provide a updated bank statement?
I don't think she's gonna provide an updated bank statement because we've hashed this out at many meetings. Again, they're not tax dollars, they're not Village of Romeo funds. These are private donations that went to a
It was
501c3.
donated For the intent for village use,
No,
for the village?
no.
That's clearly what you said when it came in, that they were determined for the village. And then they went into a 503 that wasn't formed, you needed one right away.
Zach,
And
we've-
is it that hard to
Zach,
provide
sorry,
a bank
Zach.
statement just to put everyone's minds at ease? And Ruth has told me that you're a signer also on
I
the
am a
bank.
signer. Mhm.
Can we just get an updated bank statement? I can let the residents know, hey, it's all good.
You can let the residents know, it's all good, right? It's all good. We've hashed this over and we had discussions, Mark informed you. This is
If
a
If
private,
it's not that big of a deal, it's not a private. If you're telling me it's in a 503, that's not a private business.
it's not village funds. It is not village funds. It wasn't receipted by the village, it wasn't received by my office, it was received
used
by
your
a
Let her
position
finish.
501c3.
Let her finish. You keep cutting her off and,
Right. I'm trying to answer your question.
You're just,
Right. Justin, we hashed this out
Twirling
before,
around it.
right?
No.
I understand, I don't, help me understand what your concern is. What do you think is going to happen with this project?
it's not just my concern, all
Okay.
right? It's the concern that the funds are there. That's it. Bottom line. That's it. You told us that you reached out through the village
Right.
to Ford for concessions or something because they were leaving to help benefit the village. And now the money goes into it, now it's a private fund, but it had to go to a 503, which I don't believe is private, right? So you've used your position to gain funds for a park improvement to a village asset, and the residents are clearly just asking for transparency. And yet, here we are months and months, a year later, and we can't do that. All we got was, earlier this year, a statement from months and months prior. If you're gonna provide a statement at a meeting, why are you providing one that's 6 months old? Did you have it sitting around for 6 months and then just threw it in the packet? Why can't we just get an updated bank statement
Because
to let the
there's
residents know, put them at ease?
Because there's been no action, the money is there.
it's a 501(c)(3).
If you have reason to believe that the money is not there, right, I'm setting your mind at ease, Justin. Again, these are not taxpayer dollars, they are private donations. We hashed all this out. Mark reiterated to you, this village council has no authority over those funds. I am a signer on many accounts, my mother's, right? That doesn't obligate me to provide you with a copy of her bank statement upon your request. Now, I absolutely appreciate that you are very concerned about these funds. I'm more concerned about, let's get this project done because it's gonna help our village so much, right?
Right.
We have people who are giving us money to beautify our park. That's where the
I can
focus
respect
should
that.
be.
But if
Instead
if
of
it's
trying
going towards
to,
our village,
instead
and
of
people are
trying to
concerned,
find a reason why to cast doubt on the validity of the project.
there would be no doubt if just originally you just provided. That's it.
And I did, and I did.
No, you did not.
Yes, I did.
I've answered every single one of your emails every month, and I've answered
Well, not
every
month,
question.
but it's the same answer.
I've answered every email that you sent me, and I've explained to you that there has been no change to that bank account because we haven't started the project yet. And the project is right on time. We've been approved. It's going to start right after Peach Festival. We have to wait till the end of September because of the music in the park.
Understandable.
And-
Is it that
and it's-
hard to
and
just
then-
provide a bank statement, Ruth? Is it?
You already have the bank statement. You got it when we first began.
No,
So
we got
for
the
us
beginning of
to,
this year, and it was from last October.
there has been no change. There's been no money
If it's not that big
taken
of a deal,
in
can't
or
we just
out.
get a new one? Update.
Because you ask for it every month,
You
okay,
can't
which
do it
casts
once.
doubt.
I can meet you at the bank
It's for the
tomorrow morning.
purposes of casting doubt on this
No,
project,
it's not.
because
And
you're
I've even done it
upset.
offline.
I don't want to hash
Jay-
this out.
We're not gonna go through this every month when we're trying to get a project done, and your concern is, where's the money?
Just
The money
provide
is,
transparency.
the
That's all
money
we're asking.
is there, and it always will be there. And then when we start to be able to spend it, then you'll see, changes in it. But you ask every month as if you doubt where that money is. That money is in the same bank in our village as it was when it was given to us. And it is a 5-0.
Yeah, if it's to provide a bank statement, I don't understand the big deal.
You have been provided a statement. We're not going to give you a statement every month when
I didn't
nothing
ask
has
for that.
changed.
Just
Yes,
once.
you have. You have asked
But
every
it-
month.
Because you've denied every time.
I have,
Every
you got the initial bank statement, Justin. She gave it to you
March,
the very
April of
first
this year, and
time.
was from October of last year.
You're very well aware of what Ford gave and what I gave. I matched the initial Ford dollars. There has not been any more movement in that because we haven't started our project yet. So you do have the bank statement.
So you're denying.
Justin,
Just,
it-
and this
all
big
you're
deal,
trying to do
denying
is
and that's
cast,
it? Okay.
cast doubt. And we don't have any
I'm
business
not.
playing this game. And that's what we're playing.
Those
So
drawings
that's
that we
ridiculous.
see, Did somebody pay for that? Or those, the drawings, the concept?
Can you speak up just a little bit? I can't hear you.
They weren't from HRC.
Were
they
you
were
asking me? I'm
JFA,
sorry.
But, okay.
The drawings that
Were you
we
asking?
have?
Yes.
Where are they from? Did somebody pay for them, or that's been unpaid, or how? You have drawings
was-
out there that the planning commission has approved. Where did it come from?
It
Do we
was,
have
it was
money?
paid by me for $3,000 in our initial plans,
Okay.
including the $10,000 it cost to create the 501c3. And that was announced at the meeting. And Jim Epic was here for the planning commission and for our last
So
meeting.
money has been spent, just not the Ford money?
Exactly.
Okay.
Yep.
Thank you.
Yep.
Any further comments?
Well, I have, you mentioned Mark's name, and as far as what Christine said, is that accurate?
If it's village money, then it needs to be accounted for publicly. And so you need to know where that money is, from whom it came, where it is, and how it's being spent. Just like you get your financial reports every month and you get your budget reports. If it's not village money, then the village has no public interest in it. So the core question is, whose money is it? If it belongs to the village, it's public money and it needs to be accounted for. If it's not village money, then the accounting is, I guess, at the discretion of those who are taking care of the money.
Do we have any liability with Christine being a check signer?
Well, I don't know what the structure is, so I'm not going to weigh in or express an opinion about liability or potential liability. I'll just reiterate, if it's public money, it needs to be accounted for. If there's an issue with it, I believe your officials are bonded and insured, so if there's something untoward that's done with the money, there may be recourse there if it's public money. If it's not public money, then you're, I guess, subject to the whims and caprice of those who are managing the money.
So you said an if. How do we know if?
Well,
If it's this or if it's that, how do we determine that?
Well, first of all, whether it's been receded by the village, and I guess if you take a half a step back from that, the entity, I believe it was not Ford Motor Company, but maybe it's charitable arm or it's development arm, I'm not sure which. But in any event, what was the intent of the donor? Because the entity making the money or making the donation, if the idea was we're contributing this to the village and it did not end up in the village financial system, that would be of a concern to me.
Yeah.
But if The donor says, well, we want to enhance the park, so we're not going to give it to the village, we're going to give it to some other entity, then I would say it's probably not village money, and your concern, while maybe well-founded, is again subject to the whim and caprice of the entity holding the money.
So Ms. Malzahn, you were involved from the beginning. Did Ford Motor actually write a check?
Yes,
Give
they
it to
did.
somebody?
Yes, they did.
So who did they make it out to?
The MIT TV,
So they made the check to the Mid-TV.
the 501c3, yep.
And what was the intent?
Because they are a
of that, those
501c3.
funds?
And how was it presented? Did they present it with a letter saying here's a letter, here's money from Ford, here's what it's about? Did they give anything, or did they just walk up to Ruth and hand her $70,000?
I believe it was sent in the mail. I received a phone call from one of the Ford lobbyists who said, listen, Christine, you asked us when we announced our plant closing if they would consider donating funds to re-beautify our village park. And they said, yes, but we don't donate to municipalities. It needs to go through a 501c3. When they announced the funding level, I went to the 501c3 companies that I knew were in existence. By the way, she said, you have 24 hours to get me an invoice. Within that time frame, I asked the Chamber of Commerce, who does not have the ability to accept that level of funding, so they weren't out, they were out. I asked the MRP, they do not have the ability to accept that level of funding. I reached out to Ruth Hedebrecht, said, absolutely, the MIT-TV, it's 501c3, can accept that money. And it was then determined, when we looked at the scope of the project, what we were hoping to achieve, that we would need a different level of a 501c3 entity to accept a much higher level of funding. In the meantime, Ford remitted $30,000 twice, right?
I thought it was 40 and then 30.
I think it's, okay, yes. Yes, 70,000.
To the Mid-TV, not to a 501.
No, the MIT-TV's charitable arm, which is a 501c3, right? Not paid the video production company. There are different subsidiaries of that entity. So it was never a check given to me, to my office, to the village offices. It was never receipted in there.
But like you just said, the intent was for use for the village, for the park.
It was for a beautification project for the park.
For the park.
Yes.
So the intent
Whether or
of
not
the
that
use
money-
of the funds, and correct me if I'm wrong, Mark, would indicate that those would be public based on the intent that they were to be used for the municipality.
Again, the donation, the donor controls the donation. People who receive money don't have to accept it. And so the donor controls the donation. And if the donation was made to a specific entity, then if that's a public entity, that entity has to account for it. I imagine a 501c3 also has accounting requirements. I don't know the public nature of that, but I'm not going to express an opinion on what I think Ford's donative intent was. You can wrestle with that among yourselves, but without speaking to anybody at Ford Motor Company, without corresponding with anybody at Ford Motor Company about what the intent was, where Ford Motor Company expected that money to land and be deposited, how that money was expected to be administered, I'm not going to get into the discussion among all of you.
And I don't want to waylay our meeting any longer. Again, I don't understand, and you can help me understand.
Neither do I.
Justin, are
I
you
just-
concerned about the village park being beautified? Are you not supporting the park project?
It's several residents and myself.
Justin, I don't
All
want to
we wanna
hide
know-
behind residents, right? We either know people's names or we're not. I'm speaking.
I'm a resident.
You are
Yeah,
telling
I
me
would
that
like,
you
every
have a
time you talk about
concern.
residents, can you provide a list of names?
I
No, you
do.
don't. We don't do
Yes, I
that
do.
here. We don't do that, because we're not gonna put the residents on the front line to be bamboozled or
At the end of the
attacked by
day,
people.
right, Justin,
So
do you
clearly,
want to
just
support
provide
the
a bank
project
statement
and move it forward or not?
It's not about, if you can provide a bank statement, up to date, we'll be good.
Okay. Let me just say, because this sounds bad, but if you go back to the meetings, this has been going on for a long time. Ruth has had her attorney paying him to be here to explain everything and go through there. There was issues where some board members were going to the Ford Foundation causing, like, why is this happening and all that could have kept the additional funds from going. There was a lot of things going. So I think it got to be a point where it's kind of the tail wagging the dog, that Ruth doesn't want to cooperate anymore. That's what's kind of happened. The majority of this board is totally comfortable with this. We're excited about the park. I know it's going to spend a lot more money than what the Ford dollars are, because Ruth has matched the funds, paid $10,000 for the nonprofit. I mean, you know, I don't know. That's why we're all just kind of like, here we go again. I would say, give them a bank statement and show them the cash is in there one last time, and then just put this done and wait for the park. Well, oh, right. Do you think she's taking the money? Yeah, that's what it's been like. Where's the money? Well, that's why residents are going, because the board members are going, where's the money? Where's the money? I mean, that's what's causing a question.
But we did answer. We did
And we
answer.
have answered.
We did answer.
Ever.
So Friends of the Village I've never asked you ever, would you, if I can I explain why I'm back up here? It's not me that it's in these funds. It's in the account at our local bank, and it's under the nonprofit that we're in the process of creating. Sometimes it takes 18 months, which the lawyer explained to Justin in the very beginning and the rest of the board.
So now it's not done?
It has to be a 501c3 because we have formed a nonprofit called the Friends of the Village Parks, Inc., which is going to take in private funds, not tax dollars, to enhance more than just our central park. In any time when we see that there is something needed in a park, that's what our money was. So that had to be formulated separately from the MTV. So because
But it's not done?
No, the 501c3 is not done. We have our EIN number from the state of Michigan, and we're waiting for our federal government number. So
Was behind on everything.
Right, which is IRS is,
Yes.
almost 2 years later. But they do have a limit of 18 months, so we hope to get that. And we've brought lawyers in, we've done it all legally, and it's not me.
Right. So
It's a
Can
board.
we please move on from this?
Yeah.
Right, can,
Well, then
right.
I'll question you later.
Yeah.
Thank you.
I know, we can't,
This lady's been waiting for a while. I think we should let her say something.
did you?
Mine's very quick. Hearing all of this, and I guess the park project seems wonderful, 50C3, great. My concern for how it appears is that there's very limited transparency. And I think with you being the village president, also being a bank signer for a 501c3, the nonprofit with MIT, who is a vendor to the Village of Romeo, and then not wanting to produce those statements can cast doubt from what people are hearing. Well, I understand, at that
Let me
time.
just clarify
So
that.
if the park project is continuing and there's funds coming in and we're still waiting on the 501c3 to complete legally, it just can appear non-transparent. And in today's day and age, that does not sit well.
I
So-
understand. I absolutely understand. I was not an assigner on the account originally. I became a signer on the account when this issue first came up, asking to make sure that the village was well aware of the financial positioning of that money. And I said, all right, then I will become a signer on the account. That way I will have access and I can see that bank statement. That's how that originated, because we've been talking about this for 2 years.
I can understand that, but
For 2 years.
it still all seems convoluted, is
I just
my
wanna say-
point. And I get it, if it's a private entity,
It is.
then it's nobody's business.
It
But
is.
if the funds were intended for the village, that seems where the entanglement lies.
Yes, the funds were intended to beautify the village park. The funds were intended to beautify the village park. It's a very generous gift.
It
From
is.
Ford Motor Company and the other donors that were there. The MIT TV has donated money. And at the end of the day, I think we just need to focus on, this project is gonna benefit every visitor, every resident, every person who sits in that park and enjoys a cup of coffee, every performer that's looking for a stage to sing on at open mic night. And why are we getting down into the weeds? Casting doubt on the reputation of these people who are generously giving money for this project.
I don't disagree with you at all, but transparency, I don't know. If you can't be transparent, what do you have?
Let me, if I could just reiterate,
I take your word, I mean, I'm not questioning that.
so some people don't understand what a 501(c) is, and when you know people, when you know that the money's going into a 501(c), that's when you can go good.
Can we point of
Because they're
order and
really,
get back
excuse
to
me,
our-
I've got the floor, I'm just
No, I'm
about
calling
done.
point of order. The President has said we need to get back to the matter at hand, and I'm calling. point
That's
of
fine.
order.
Trustee comments? We're still there.
Let's move.
Edwards?
No.
Bartholomew?
What was the motion?
No, we're on trustee comments. That's how we're still working on.
Oh, yeah,
Anything to report?
Yeah, point of order.
At this time.
I'd like to,
No, excuse me, I can call a point of order.
I can call a point of order
Sorry,
too
Mr.
because I'm a resident.
Yeah, but
And-
this
but,
is trustee, this is
this-
trustee
this thing
comment
is-
right now?
This, I want to talk about this thing just a minute, because you have a fiduciary responsibility. I don't, to be candid with what's going on here, and I think you're the president, and yet you've signed off on an entity to spend money to do something for the village, and all you have to do is be transparent about how the thing functions and tell us what's going on. We don't need to be involved in exactly where $39 is going, but if you've got to at least give us a general outline of how this thing is going to work, because you are assuming a part of a responsibility for this village by signing off on something, and the work that's being done, it affects the village. So you have to give us an outline of just what it is and be candid with us. That's all we're asking for.
Absolutely.
Thank you.
I completely understand. Mr. Clark, if you'd like to come into my office, I'm happy to show you a copy of that report. We have supplied the document that was requested.
I'm not asking to come in and see you. I'm just saying, this young lady got up and said about what's going on with the village. You're creating a monster, and
I know, and it
there's a way to
doesn't
get
have
around it.
Right, it doesn't have to be.
It doesn't have to be.
It doesn't have to be 100%.
Right.
If we were all working together on the same page to beautify and promote this village. Trustee Poznanski, did you have trustee comments? I'm sorry?
I'm good.
Okay, thank you.
Oh, I'm sorry, did we skip over Nate? Are you good?
no, I'm good.
I thought I asked him. Okay.
Planning Commission.
We,
Planning Commission?
Planning Commission.
we approved the special land use phase 1 for the clerk project out there on 32 and Powell Road. Phase 2, they're gonna bring that back, and after we review it again, because there's certain things that have to be submitted, has to make sure it's within 750 feet. It seems to be expanding over towards Powell Road, which the line had already been drawn for the phase 1. And as far as the, what's the name of that place, barbecue place?
JL's?
JL's, yes, that was approved, but I think we pushed it to our clerk and Cindy to check in with Mr. Bush. Is that, Trustee Parker made some good points.
Yes.
Do you mind expressing the point that you made?
Well, it doesn't, right. We can move on.
Okay. Well, yeah,
You're correct.
He made a couple good points there, so
It passed, yeah.
It was
passed.
approved, and we've
It was
reached out to
approved.
Mr. Bush, who's out of the office this week.
Okay.
Yes, we are checking on that, as directed. So, all right.
Committee reports.
Let's circle back now. I'm sorry, what did you ask?
Oh, no, I'm sorry, I was just reading the agenda out loud.
Okay. We're going to circle back to unfinished business, item 9A. Our
Was there any
Sisson
committee?
Street,
No.
there's no committee
We have
reports.
committee reports.
Well, we
Other
did,
than, okay, go ahead.
this morning, the sewer capacity committee met and voted to move or pass the third amendment of the contract to send to Bruce Township for their
expansion.
No.
Wait,
No, we sent it for their review.
We sent it
We
over
did
there
not
for their
vote to approve at this time.
And they haven't.
And they haven't, they just
So
would
it's
have
the
got it
ball's in
today.
their court.
The ball's
Okay,
in
now
their
they-
court.
All right. Good, I'm glad that's moving forward.
Yes. Now, the Sisson Street vacant property. Yay.
Sorry.
Just, right, I don't think I need to recap, but at last month's Board of Trustees meeting, we voted to reject all offers for the sale of the property that we received, but there was no recommendation made to the status of this parcel, so I put this back on the agenda for further discussion. After the last meeting, I reached out to the majority of the residents who were here. I knocked on doors and I engaged them in conversations, and I really welcomed their feedback. And one of the ideas that was suggested at that meeting last month was, did you ever think about making it a park? And I said to them, no, I hadn't ever thought about making it a park, but that's a dang good idea, right? I said, so tell me what that would look like. Is there support? Because I don't know that I have time to make it a park, or that I want to take on another park project. To be perfectly honest with you, Justin, I'm a little nervous about that. But we had some discussions, and we had some meetings, and I'm going to recommend, Connie Rivard is here. I asked her with a couple of the residents to come tonight because we, again, have sat down and had some meetings on what a park there would look like. I am going to recommend that this village council dedicate that as a park, as long as you're willing to give up the $190,000, which was the highest bid from the sale of that. If you think there is value to still relisting that property, to utilize those funds, even if we just restricted it to a single-family residential house, we can absolutely relist the property and see what we get, or we can work with these fine folks and look about adding another park to the village of Romeo.
Why do we have to move on it right now? Why? What's the hurry?
Why not?
What's the hurry?
Well, there really isn't a hurry, but if there's momentum and it's a positive change for the village, one, I would like to stop having to spend taxpayer dollars to care for that property, which generates no revenue. It is a nice piece of grass that I think the residents who back up to that utilize to walk their dogs and exercise, maybe their grandkids play out there, but it really doesn't serve any official purpose since this was brought forward as an offer to an interested party who wanted to expand their business. That was the impetus to list it for sale. What could we get? Out of that, we had some great discussion. We had some feedback from the residents who said, I think they would love to have this. So again, reached out to Connie and her team to say, would you like to form maybe a subcommittee that would talk to Parks and Rec, that would talk to other donors to figure out who could pay for it. Maybe we could get this funded through, again, private donations, not using taxpayer dollars, but would be a resource and an asset that all of our residents could benefit from.
My main question was just what was the hurry?
Mhm.
So, I mean, as long as it doesn't cost us anything, just to do the research.
Yeah, absolutely. Would you mind, Connie? Thank you. Yes. You sat here through the whole of the meeting, so.
Yeah, a couple months ago, it was brought to my attention. I actually am the board president at Sisson.
Yeah.
Oh, I'm sorry.
Then everybody can hear you with the microphone.
It was brought to my attention a couple months ago that that land had gone up for sale over on Sisson. And I wasn't aware of that. I was dealing with some family issues, so my other board members were kind of overseeing things. Then what I heard was that the three bids that you had received had been rejected because a lot of the neighbors had approached me that back up to that property and also on Salem. They were very upset because you know, they're used to it being the way it is, and a lot of them don't have fences there, so that's all, that's all open land. So I reached out to Christine and brought it to her attention that I didn't know that was an option that land had gone up for sale, but did anybody ever think of making it a park? You know, or keeping it a green space, because we don't have any green space in Romeo. I mean, everywhere you go, it's pretty well used up with something else. So she said, you know, that's a good idea, but, you know, we don't have really the resources, the manpower. I said, I don't think we would have a problem helping out as a committee or trying to get the information or whatever it is that you guys would need. You know, I've got 6 members here right now that are willing to be part of a committee. 2 are out of town, but have already spoke up. They're willing to do the work, whatever it's going to take to get that accomplished. I reached out to the owner of that auto shop there. Mike would be willing to buy like 10 feet of it. That's all he wanted, and pay for that portion if that would help bring in some money for the village. And then the rest would be donated as far as a park, and that would go through private funding. Ruth has also reached out to me, and that would be part of, I don't remember the name of your organization, Friends of whatever that was, and that would also help in helping us with the park. And I also extended that if that works out, there would be other projects. We would be very willing to, again, form a committee, help do the legwork, whatever it would take to get more green space in Romeo. We need more places where kids can go, or seniors can go sit, whatever, and, you know, meet with your neighbors as opposed to just, you know, walking down Main Street. So that's how that came about.
I appreciate that. And
Okay.
the work that you have done, right? Out of a little bit of frustration and angst, right? We together can make great things happen. But I couldn't do it without your help, and we can't do it without the support of this board. So.
And I was under, correct me if the name's wrong, under our rules of order that we can commission a citizen task force. There's some sort of, we can do a subcommittee as of the board, and we can do a subcommittee as of the citizens. And I would think that would be a great idea to do, for you guys to handle it. You live there, you know what it is.
Mm-hmm.
And you're willing.
Like I said, we all need to work together. I mean, we all live in Romeo, and we all love it. So whatever it would take. Like I said, it didn't take me long when I found out you were having a meeting tonight. I came from up north to come to the meeting.
Me too.
Well, thank you.
Well, thank you for coming.
And look at all the people I was able to bring.
You're very well
Absolutely.
spoken to.
Thank you for everything you're doing. It's
Thank you.
full support of that staying in green space.
So, yeah, the property is not for sale, and so if you want to come up with some ideas of what we would do and bring that to the board and see what we do.
With whoever, you know, to get it started, we're all here to make it happen. And whatever else, you know, you see in the future as possible green space or park or whatever, I don't think any of us would have problem not donating our time to make it happen.
So I'd like to make a motion to dedicate this property or investigate the dedication of it as an official village park.
Support?
That site used to be, correct me, right, the DPW. Have we had all the soil analysis and everything done of that? Are we in the clear to make that move?
For a village park, for another village park, it wouldn't require any remediation. I do have some documentation. I'm still looking at, researching some, I have not found anything that mentioned, discussed, or showed that there were ever underground tanks there. There were above ground tanks.
Because I know that was a scare.
Not underground, but
I
I'm
believe-
still looking to confirm that with
JP's sister
the DEQ.
might have
Excuse me.
some of that reporting.
That was brought up, and I also discussed that with Mike. He said he didn't know for sure that was taken out years ago, so he needed paperwork, possibly he has it, or has a contact of who can tell you that.
Yes,
Because
okay.
we did discuss that when I approached him.
Great.
Yes.
Well, also the old road commission piece of property is used as a park.
Right.
And that was in relatively bad shape.
He's
As
talking
a-
about
for
on-
a park
on-
use,
on
it was
Pleasant
fine.
Street, yes.
I would just
For a
suggest if we
park.
put any edibles in there, I would put them in a planter just to be on the safe side. Other than that, we're not eating the flowers, we're gonna put down maybe a track. I think we're okay.
Yeah, we just kind of thought of a little walking path.
Yeah.
There are a couple
For
benches.
village parks, that's a very good question. I don't know the answer to that. To
Yeah,
developing
picnic,
more
but
green
it's not that
space.
big, But just to be able to walk through there, sit with a neighbor, you know, your dog, whatever.
It's a nice piece of property. It
Yes,
really
it is
is.
very nice.
Mm-hmm.
And
I'm
I
sure
know
the-
people that live there have enjoyed it, and this way it would be secure for, you know.
The Romeo tree board would, I'm sure, jump on that to work with you.
Who's that?
The Romeo tree board,
Okay,
Ruth's on that also.
okay, well, her
Yes.
and I will be moving it further around it, but
Mhm.
we'll all work together.
Yes,
She's a great lady to work with.
absolutely. All right, so I have a motion and support on the table to document that as a official village park. Do I, all in favor?
Aye.
Are there any opposed? Okay,
Thank you.
looks like we're one step
Thank you.
closer to having a new park, absolutely. So,
Yeah. I'd like to see us just, because so there won't be any confusion going down the road, and we're transparent with this. I'd like to see you, or this board, make a recommendation to set up a committee, assign, I don't know who would be head of the committee, but we've got to have a point person on the committee, and to Christina, to keep you from having to do everything, we ought to have a board member that we could go to that could keep us pointed in the right direction. So we don't have to come to everybody until something's done. So we need a little
need an ex
clarification.
officio. So let me work on that with legal counsel on how we actually formally get a citizen subcommittee formulated.
Okay.
And we'll bring that back if I need to, I'm assuming, for board approval and board vote. And maybe we can talk, and you can get me the names of those that would be, willing to step up and have their phone ring, right? The who, what, where, and who the point persons on that would be. Absolutely.
Is there a certain number of committee members you want?
I don't know the answer to any of that, but let me see what details I can, and information I could get, and then we'll go from there.
Mark, do you
Fair
by
enough.
chance have our rules of order with you? I usually do, and I don't today.
I might.
Because it does state, it's on the last page, that's where the committees are formed, there's the two committees, I want to say it's a citizen task force or a citizen something.
Well, you're allowed to seek and receive citizen input at any time. I mean, you can, what you do with it is another issue.
Correct.
You're always, you have in your rules of order, I think these are current as of 2018 are what I show as the last amendment or revision. And it says, citizen task force. Citizen task forces may be established by a resolution of the council, which specifies the task to be accomplished and the date of its dissolution. Members of such committees will be appointed by the village president, subject to approval by a majority vote of the village council, and may be residents of the village. Vacancies will be filled by majority vote of the village council. In the same way, appointments are made.
Yes. So,
Well, I say we
same
make the
process that we-
resolution right now, and then by the next meeting, you can have the appointees that you would like, and then we can keep moving forward.
Yep.
Find out who wants to be on the committee and
Yes.
how that'll look.
Yep.
So we had to state the purpose and the dissolve date. That's all we really need to make that motion,
Yeah.
Mark?
Correct.
Resolution,
And
Resolution.
is there a certain number that you need on that board?
it doesn't.
Doesn't say.
It's not stated in your rules. It can be as large or as small as.
Sounds like
Be
we got a
in
good
usually
group
a
here right
odd-
now.
Usually an
I
odd
wouldn't
number.
recommend 20 or higher. It's hard to get anything done when
The
you
more the
have
merrier.
20 or higher, but.
So I would make the resolution that we go ahead with the citizen task force, what do we want to call this park? To creation of the park on Sisson Street, to dissolve in,
Great plans.
I don't know,
5 years.
I was gonna say 3, 5 years from today's date.
Right.
And then we can go forward from there once it's established, and if it needs to continue to generate revenue, then that board at that time can recreate and continue.
I'll support.
Let's say 7 members. Do you want a liaison? It doesn't say you have to, but do you want one? Do you want a board member? Do you want a liaison? It doesn't say that we need one, but do you want one?
It doesn't matter to me, whichever's easiest for you.
Right, I certainly, right.
I would support it with a
Right.
liaison on the board.
Are we just,
Developing plans.
no, I meant, are they just gonna be secluded just to this spot? Because we do have other village properties.
For now, yes, there's
Okay,
this
all right.
one.
Yeah. All right.
Expand your.
So let's establish the task force, right, we'll establish the Citizen Task Force Committee, and I'll bring it back next month for approval.
Sounds good?
Okay. All right, let's move on to new business.
Who seconded it?
We need,
Oh, I'm sorry.
I supported, right? Do we
Oh,
need to vote?
support?
That needs to be a
What's your
resolution.
resolution number?
I need a number?
Yeah, they're numbered. I keep them.
Can I just, we'll do the formal
Okay.
resolution, bring it all back next month?
Resolutions are numbered.
1111. You want a number?
Nope, yeah, they need to be numbered.
All right, all in favor?
Aye.
Any opposed? Okay. We have a subcommittee. Citizen Task Force. Okay, item 10A, new business, the marijuana license approval.
You had B, didn't you?
We did that first when Mike McDonald hopped on, so, yeah, we're gonna skip over that. Okay, as mandated in Village Ordinance number 557, the review of applications for the one submittal attached for marijuana business licenses has been completed. The clerk has forwarded to me all required documentation and has reported that this one application has satisfied the submittal requirements specified in Ordinance 557. After review of the separation measurement stated in Village of Romeo zoning ordinance, section 46-5, the application meets the 750-foot property line to property line buffer zone required by the ordinance. Therefore, based on the application received, meeting all criteria in ordinance number 557 and in section 46-5 of the village zoning ordinance, I approve a marijuana business license for the following parcel ID, number 29-05-06-100-014, also known as Foliage Cannabis Company LLC. Dan DeCleric is the principal applicant. There is no board action that needs to be taken.
Real quick, Zach, at the meeting, and I thought it would be noted in here, I thought that was gonna be for a partial, wasn't there a phase 1, phase 2?
Yeah.
You guys only approved the
phase
first
one.
phase 1?
I did mention that in my actual.
Yeah, should that be noted in here that it's not approval for the whole site? Because they didn't get special land use for the whole site.
Correct, and so that portion is not what they applied for.
But it mentions the whole parcel ID, right?
This information.
I just didn't know if that needed to be noted.
Right. I'm sorry, what, Catherine?
This was, what do you mean by, I don't understand the motion by partial, it's a parcel ID or the whole parcel?
I think what Trustee Parker's trying to say is, we approved phase 1, which was outlined by their drawing, where the
Yes.
where the
Right.
property
Yes.
stopped at the water's edge.
That's correct,
Phase
yes.
2, we didn't approve until after they.
They had to submit more information.
Right, which is for the retail, so this marijuana application is for retail only. For the agricultural portion, which is their phase 2.
Correct.
Okay.
That has not been
another
approved.
You have to
application
state it
process.
retail, okay.
It says, yeah, retail
Yes.
right down there at the
All
bottom.
right.
Yes,
Okay, thank you for clarifying.
got it.
Right there.
Okay.
Yeah, I see that, I just didn't know if it had to be noted.
Item 10B, the office pub permit. The office pub annually requires extra space to park a refrigerator truck for cold food storage during the busy Labor Day weekend. They have again made that same request. They have submitted to you a drawing of where that trailer would be parked, which is in the corner of Rawls and Lafayette.
I'll make the
I know,
Basis.
real quick, I know we approve this every year, but for some reason I'm looking at it different this year. Is that even our spots? Or is that, and I wish he was still here, isn't that part of Bill's
I
parking?
believe Bill's are along Rawls. This is
Right.
on the
I thought
corner
he
of
had-
Lafayette.
He is
Yeah,
in
that's
the
ours.
middle,
That's
he is in
ours.
the middle of kind of parking lot.
Two Rawls?
On Rawls, the ones.
So the ones that are off Lafayette?
In that corner.
That's ours.
The corner of
That's
those.
why we approve it every year, yeah. I'd like to make the motion that we approve the special event permit for the office pub.
Support?
I support
Fowler.
it.
Fowler got it?
I support it.
Okay. All in favor?
Started
All to you.
talking.
Good.
Sorry, that was an all in favor?
Yes.
Any opposed? Okay. Item 10C, tree maintenance. President Malzahn received 3 estimates for tree work based off the tree assessment survey conducted by able tree experts. There have been a number of emergency issues arising from the end-of-life conditions with many of our trees. These diseased trees pose dangers to life and property, especially due to the extreme weather days that we are experiencing. I am requesting a budget line item to address the trees identified, as well as pay for ongoing maintenance as needed. As you can see, I submitted to you the tree assessment, the list of trees. It's ever growing. I have more on my desk as people call in and report some issues. I asked Tim to please get me 3 bids, 3 estimates based off of this list. So all of the people who had this list, and they could go and base their work off of that.
So the money is, that we're voting on today is for that list only, or is it going to be?
And for ongoing.
It's just a budget.
I need a budget line item.
Yeah.
So my recommendation, my motion that I'm going to ask for is to contract tree services from able tree experts for removal and trimming of trees listed on the assessment sheet, as well as ongoing services as needed in the amount of $8,000 per day, not to exceed $40,000 as a line item budget.
That's a motion, I'll support it.
Can we put a date on that, like to be completed by, or is this something we can reassess yearly?
It would be added to, it would be added to our fiscal year budget, amended if needed. But we would officially have a line item budget, which was not accounted for in our plan for this year.
And can you just explain why you would make a motion to go with the most expensive bid?
I chose them because they have the highest tech equipment. The work, or the company AWD, although they're the lowest bidder, they're still using a cherry picker truck, so the work that they could achieve in an 8-hour day would not be as significant as what Able Tree is able to provide. So I think we'll get a much better result in timeliness, even though we're paying a little bit more. We already know Able Tree's work quality and how they've taken care of the issues
I saw them
on
remove-
Tilson Street.
Yeah.
Right.
They removed a tree on Tilson Street, they had that claw, and it
Yeah.
actually cuts it and
I've seen them,
drops it.
I've seen Budget do work too, and I think they're just as good of a company. I just don't know why we'd go with the highest.
Well, like,
'Cause they
with
have
that
the-
other claw, and that thing just takes down a.
They
it's
get more
just
done.
Dropping them, yeah.
They don't have to send a guy up into the tree. I watched it.
It was
It's
pretty amazing.
He was operator control.
I mean, it was cutting branches that were 40 feet up with the claw and
No,
then cutting it.
I've seen companies do that. I understand, I just,
Well, it's efficient.
So we have a motion by Bartholomew. Did I have support?
I'll support it.
Now,
Is there any
Able-
other discussion?
If I may, Able doesn't, not including same-day or emergency service. Is it say somewhere else with the added, am I missing?
Right. Well, if there's an emergency service, then it would probably not be for a full 8 hours. It would be to take care of whatever the emergency issue was for, right? Like when the traffic shift happened right outside Village Hall and the big truck trailers were hitting the trees out front of Anthony Riggy's and the village offices. I immediately called Tim and I said, somebody's gonna knock this whole tree down into traffic, and Able Tree was on site within an hour, maybe 2, and they were able to just take care of all of those, right.
Tim,
3 or 4
do we have
trees.
the ability to do any of this ourselves or in-house? Do we have equipment that can handle any of this?
Not really.
No?
Ladder.
Yeah, no, I thought we had stuff. I
You know,
thought we
our
had
guys
required
went
some
up on
stuff.
ladders.
Yes, we have the equipment to clean it up if it comes down.
Yeah, if
Okay,
it's
so that's
on the
what we
ground,
have, okay.
right.
Yeah, I mean, we've got a chipper, saws, but the biggest thing we don't have is the manpower.
Understandable. Right.
Can we state the motion?
Motion to contract tree services from Able Tree experts for removal and trimming of trees listed on the assessment sheet, as well as ongoing services ongoing services as needed in the amount of $8,000 per day, not to exceed $40,000.
40,000 in a day, in a year?
Well, it's $8,000 per day. So that's 5 days, right? They're gonna basically work for 5 days and take care of these trees that are here. Some
This
of them
list.
are a little bit longer, probably, so it might take, I don't know what their time is, but I'm gonna suggest that it's 5 days. Whatever time lane is left in the budget, when I get these ongoing calls, they'll accumulate, and when they think they have 8 hours worth of work, they'll come out and perform those services.
Got it, okay.
And if there's emergencies in the event, then it probably would count towards that total $40,000 in the line item budget. So, any other discussion, any input from the audience? Roll call on that, please.
Bartholomew?
Yes.
Hart?
Yes.
Fowler?
No.
Poznanski?
Yes.
President Milzwan?
Yes?
Edwards?
Yes.
Parker?
No.
Motion carries 5-2.
Thank you. Moving on, item 10D, the wastewater treatment plant Wind-Smith reducer. I see Al has
Going on,
joined
Al.
us. Thank you, Al. I know you were driving home.
Yeah. Learned my lesson from last month, Bob. I'm trying to make it short. It's a gear reducer at the bottom of a tank that hooks to a 15-foot auger. The gear reducer is broke. The only people that make this are it's a Volca company, and they've also given us a price to have a company come in and install it, and total is $24,057.42.
So can I
So
get
there's
it?
only one company that makes this, is that what?
Yes.
And then there's only one installer?
No, this is installed, they asked, there's very few, there's only a couple around that would do anything like this, because there's some fabrication that needs to be done. So I just brought this in. This is
Yeah, that's,
Evoqua is the one you're,
Evoqua, yes, originally it was in Virex, and they've sold it 3 or 4 times since.
I'll make the motion that we go to Evoca and their contract for the wastewater treatment equipment repair.
support.
Do you have it in your budget?
do we have to,
You have it in your budget?
do we have to include the installation separately, because it's quoted separately? Do you have to motion for
Read this
both?
motion. Right, it's on your sheet. No, that's the wrong one. Yeah. Just to clarify your motion, right, to approve the purchase.
To approve the purchase of the Wind-Smith reducer from Evoqua Water Technologies in the amount of $9,757.42, plus installation by Titus Welding Company in the amount of $14,300.
I'll second.
Thank you.
Yes,
That's
right.
what Matt said.
Okay. Oh, I'm sorry, I thought you made the original motion.
No, I
I
seconded.
had it mixed up. All right,
No
any
problem.
other discussion? If not, call the roll, please.
Bartholomew?
Yes.
Edwards?
Yes.
Poznanski?
Yes.
President Milzwan?
Yes?
Fowler?
Yes.
Hart?
Yes.
Parker?
Yes.
Motion carries 7-0.
Thank you, Al. By the way, Al and his crew did a great job. He reported to me that during the last storms a couple of weeks ago, there was 3 million gallons worth of water flowing through our wastewater treatment plant that's rated to have 2.1. So I asked him at the time if we were sandbagging or what we were doing. He said they were on it. So thanks, Al.
Cool.
And also at that same storm, we had a tree on Benjamin that our DPW guys were out there instantly and took care of in an hour. It was gone.
Yep. We've got excellent employees that take care of us well, don't they? I should also commend Tim a bit off the subject for all of his work in this water main break, because, right, he alerted me very early Saturday morning to the situation. He's kept me updated. We worked together getting notifications out. He walked door to door to all the businesses that are affected. He's really gone above and beyond the call of duty in overtime. Okay, all right, well, appreciate you sharing the love, but, right, you can pass it along to the guys, right?
This is consistent.
Yeah, you guys are taking care of all of our users, so thank you for that.
Both of you and your departments, appreciate it.
Okay, item 10E, the DDA Screech Fest. You have in front of you, the DDA is planning a new event in downtown Romeo. Screech Fest will focus on all things fall and Halloween. It will include wagon rides, horse and carriage rides, pumpkin carving, etc. It will also include trick-or-treating in the village with the street closure along Van Dyke from Newberry to Washington Street from 10:45 a.m. to 1 p.m. We may extend that just a little bit, because if the village park is not available for the costume contest, we may just move that to Main Street. If the street's already closed, we just may put that party in the street instead of in the park. So I would question maybe extending that to 3 o'clock instead of 1 o'clock, just if we're discussing it tonight.
Okay, make the motion that we approve the special event permit by Romeo DDA, and with the possibility of having to make that to 3 p.m.
Okay.
I would just do it.
We have
Or just to 3 p.m. Yes, make it to 3 p.m.
Okay.
Support.
I have a question.
Yes.
Last year, the Tilson Street residents expressed concerns about, the impact of the Halloween experience. Have we reached out to, or wasn't a committee formed, or Bob, or you guys on that committee, or?
Yeah, I think I was gonna be, and then it got streamlined past me.
So what's gonna be the impact of having this and addressing their concerns? Because obviously, if we have this exchange thing going on downtown, they're gonna flood the Tilson Street again, and we'll have the residents.
Yeah, I can just speak for myself. There are people on that live on Tilson that are working on doing this. Part of the thought is the people are here, that gives them something else to do. Maybe, they'll be over there, and as what I've been in here for 20 years on the street, and we've seen the expansion onto other streets and things, and the general consensus of the street is it's nice to have it more diverse, so it's not just Tilson that is everything. Okay. So I don't think there's opposition to it.
This might spread the crowd, like you say, into town as well, instead of keeping it all congregated around the Dairy Queen.
Well, I think during Halloween, that the crowd was spread, but yeah, Tilson Street did a little more advertisement. And that was just my concern. A year ago, they were here and expressed their concerns.
Could we,
my
for this?
initial thought would be to limit it maybe to maybe the last 2 weeks and see how it goes this year. And then maybe expand it out, because taking on a whole month, it just seems, it seems like a lot going on.
Great for the businesses.
For the businesses, yes, but how about the residents?
All of them?
And the residents as well, because it spreads it out.
Yeah, I don't know, I think it's.
Did anyone support my motion?
Yes.
Right.
Is the motion, just for clarification, is this, because this is asking for weekends in October, what are we shutting down from? I thought the trick-or-treating was what your motion was strictly for, extending till 3. Can you clarify this?
It's also for the events that are on the last 2
Yes.
sheets of their special event permit. She gives a date and a timeline for when those events will occur, different weekends of the month as they're planning it. But the street closure
That
is
time was
only-
just for that date?
Only for the trick-or-treating.
That, I just wanted to make sure that was
So for
noted,
that day.
that we're not shutting down the street for that amount of time every weekend, that's all.
Yep. Homecoming is September 28th. So
Right around the
trick-or-treating
corner.
is October 29th. All right, so we have a motion by Bartholomew, support by Edwards to approve the special event permit. All in favor?
Aye.
Any opposed?
One.
Okay. 6-1. Item 10F, the agreements for water use billing. You know that we talked about this at last meeting with the Romeo Town Square folks. We have executed successfully that agreement, as I was authorized to do. And we knew that more comers from that action would be coming forward. I actually proactively reached out to each one of the 3 condominium associations, Peyton Manor, Melanie Park Condos, and Sisson Park Condo Association, and alerted them to the opportunity to engage in this same contract. Everybody said, yes, please sign me up. So I asked Mark Clark to please draft the 3 agreements that you have in the packet. They are the same terms and conditions that we approved for Romeo Town Square, with the exception of the locations of the irrigation meters and the principal people signing it. So, can I get a motion to authorize?
I'll make a motion to authorize President Malzahn to enter into the proposed agreements with Peyton Manor, Melanie Park, Sisson Park condominiums as presented.
I'll second.
That is,
Motion by Hart.
it's nice to have.
Right, we have support by Parker.
Ain't gonna think.
Any other discussion? Any input from anybody?
Thank you.
God rest Ed Rich's soul, right?
Yeah.
Because
Really?
he fought
Yeah,
for
thank
this for so many years,
For you.
and I'm glad that we could finally get it done.
Well, he's smiling down.
Absolutely, absolutely, right.
He's
So,
like pumping.
all in favor?
Aye.
Any opposed? Okay, good. So I will get those to you, and then you can execute them. I'll sign them first, I'll get them to you, you can bring them back signed to me, we'll get it all filed and the billing adjusted for the next billing cycle.
September
It
16th
will
is the
start
billing
with-
cycle, you'll be
right.
billed in January.
Yes. Yep, absolutely. Item 10G, the Romeo High School Homecoming Parade. You have a special event permit.
I make the motion to approve it for Wednesday, September 28th at 6 PM.
I'll second.
The permit as submitted.
Poznanski, Parker, all in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
Is there any discussion, by the way? Right, motion carries. All right.
Okay.
Then we have, no, we have one more. We had the add-on of the parade resolution, because typically, Chief Dan needs to submit this to the county because those street closures are there, and they ask it to be done by resolution.
Okay.
So,
I make a resolution that we adopt Monday, September 5th, 10 a.m. for the Children's Parade, Monday, September 5th at 1:30 for the Peach Fest Hometown Parade, Sunday, September 4th, 7 p.m. for the Classic Car Parade, Wednesday, the 28th, 7 p.m. for Homecoming Parade, and Thursday, December 1st, at 7 p.m. for the Christmas Santa Parade.
I'll second.
we have motion by Hart, we have support by Parker. Any other discussion?
Is there a
Question is-
Mummers Parade?
It's
We
involved
changed
with
it
the
to
classic car.
Classic
Night
car.
parade.
Got it. Okay,
Oh, okay.
We dropped mummers
all right,
We did?
okay.
years ago.
Okay.
But I always thought it was called the Floral Parade on Monday.
They changed it. It's
Yeah.
now called the Hometown Parade. So all in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
Any opposed?
Yeah, we did.
Zach?
Motion to adjourn.
Second.
Support, third.
All in favor?